Hey, what's up, everybody? Just a quick message. As you can see, this is a long video. I analyzed every single hand from a satellite on Club GG that I won to get into the WSOP main event. If you don't want to watch the entire thing, if you want to only watch the interesting hands, then there are timestamps in the description of this video. And I also want to give a quick shout out to the homie Jordan. When I first had this, the sound was not playing in the editing software or on YouTube, and through some technical magic and some finagling, we are now able to enjoy this. So thank you, Jordan, and let's get on with the video.
All right, we are live. Welcome, everybody. My name... Good start. Welcome, everybody. My name is Aaron Henderson, and I have quite the treat for you today. We are going to be going over every single hand I played in a Club GG satellite to win a seat into the World Series of Poker main event. There are some super sexy hands in here, and you might be wondering who we is when I say we will be going over. So it is my pleasure. This man needs no introduction, so you know when I say that there is a long, unnecessary introduction coming. But this man is a brother of mine. He is a brother from another mother, a Bindi from another Cindy, if you will. He is the 5-time reigning champion of analyzing poker hands while sitting on a couch in a living room. That is verified. He is a man that all the ladies want to be and all the men want to be with. He is just an awesome guy. I'm happy to have here and welcome the one and only Clinton Highshoe.
Hello.
Damn it, my read was wrong. I thought you were going to show up. You were going to do the hi. No reads today. All right.
No reads today.
No reads today. I saved them all for this tournament. So, sit back, relax, enjoy. We're going to be going over every hand. There are some doozies in here for anybody who's familiar with me. So, I recently got bumped up from 39 subscribers on YouTube to 40. So, you're nervous about that? You're nervous about talking in front of a large audience like this, or?
No, I made it count 37.
This is the type of high quality humor and entertainment you're in store, folks. So, just a quick little review since I've gone over this before. This is Club GG. You pay $50 a month, and there are stages. You win tickets, and to play in the satellite, you use a final stage ticket. I have over 100 of these. Sick brag, I know. So, just entered a bunch of these. They run these 4 or 5 times a week. Give away 5 seats a week into the main event, the $10,000 buy-in main event of the World Series of Poker. In the top half of the screen here, you will see the hand and the players and the chip stacks. In the bottom half of the screen, starting on the left and going down in the columns, you'll see the blinds and antes. Then you go to the right, pre-flop, flop, turn, and river. You'll be able to see the action in order. I am the highlighted yellow action. And then under the pre-flop, there's a number, 1,000. That's the pot with the blinds and antes. And then each number under is the pot size. So we'll just go through these one at a time. And all the important hands, all the interesting hands will be time-stamped on this. So if you want to look at that, that will be in the description. Ready to do this?
Let's do it.
Let's do this. All right, so right off the bat, we fold, but then we're right into the action. So in this hand, the blinds start off at 200, 400, and start with a stack of, would have been good to look at before, of 15,000. So we're starting off, got to pull out the calculator already, with about 37 and a half big blinds. At the start of this, the hand itself probably isn't too interesting, so it might be better to talk about the philosophy instead. So first place in this wins an $11,000 package into, you get $10,000 for the main event and a week of hotel. So second place gets 25 tickets to keep entering these tournaments. So basically this tournament is a winner take all, essentially. If you might be able to get some value out of the tickets. So my strategy for something like this is to just gamble early. You get 2 re-entries per tournament. Just try and build a stack. The quote unquote good poker be damned. Like I'm just trying to either build a stack or play the next one. So in this one, we start off. There's a raise under the gun. We re-raise with a suited king deuce of spades, and they call. The flop comes king of diamonds, 10 of clubs, 6 of clubs. They actually lead out into me and bet. Want to keep the bluffs in their range. It's a spot I just call. The turn is the 8 of clubs. They bet. So there's a flush possible on the turn. They bet about a third of the pot, it looks like. And I just shove for stacks. So you can talk any thoughts that come to your mind at all, by the way. Clint's never seen these hands before. And he knows, but you guys might not know. Like, he's always free to say speak freely, speak honestly. Like, if there's something that he thinks is dumb or stupid, he will, I'm sure, be more than happy to tell me. So in a spot like this, like I said, this isn't a standard quote-unquote good play, I would think. But if you're trying to gamble and build a stack or re-enter, that's kind of the philosophy here. So any initial thoughts on any of that, or that sound good to you?
Yeah, and I don't find myself 3-betting an under-the-gun raise with King 2 suited very often. But, like you said, early stack play, you got to gamble a little bit.
Yeah, we're gambling it up. I think having the deuce is obviously really bad. These types of hands, I think, normally would just be a fold, especially versus an under-the-gun raise. You're going to get into some bad spots. But no, we're gonna be farting, drinking water, cracking knuckles, making out a little bit. So just any noises you hear, just it's part of the process. We're all just here to have fun. So as you can see, Clint's a fucking idiot, and I'm a fucking genius because I get it in against second pair and build a stack. So we're off to a good start. We'll just keep going through the folds pretty quickly. If I see myself with a fold. So this one, there's a raise. I re-raise the big blind pretty big. They make it 1,200. I raise 5,800, which I think in this, that means I made it 5,800 more. So with ace queen suited, take it down. Probably not a ton to say there. The modern theory these days, the raises just get bigger and bigger out of position. Like back in the day, when we came up as young bucks playing, the standard re-raise was to like 3x. Now these days, is when you're out of position, people are making, I see it bigger and bigger, like 4x, 5x, 6x. So,
and they went full 3x to start out with.
That is true. Yeah, exactly. So that compounds the re-raise a bit more. Looks like kind of more of the same here. Okay, so this one, there is a big Limpy Dick under the gun. The button calls. We're in the small blind with Jack 9 off, Jack of diamonds, 9 of spades. Playable. I mean, in a cash game, unless people are like really bad, I'd probably fold this. But just with a bunch of limps, I'm getting in there. They check. The flop comes Jack of spades, deuce of diamonds, 10 of clubs. We flop top pair with a shitty kicker out of position. We check. The big blind just leads right out.
Now, that's not a flop the big blind should be leading basically ever.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. It's very tough. It's hard to imagine, like, why and what they would be, like, leading out with. But, like, this interacts with a lot of, like, people who, like, limp in. There's going to be all kinds of, like, draws and pairs in there. Like, I don't know exactly what they're hoping to have happen. But this is,
At early stages.
Yeah, exactly. This is early stage. This is Club GG. It's not like a mix of seasoned pros or anything. They lead out for full pot, too, on top of that. Under the gun calls. Button folds. It's back to us. This is kind of just more of the same thing. It's more of just like, look, early. It'll get better. The quality of the poker and the decisions in the hands will get more better. Right now, there isn't really a ton to talk about besides like, just trying to build a stack. We check raise pretty big to 10,200 because this is just the type of stuff you see. He calls with middle pair We end up making trips, and now we got ourselves a nice little stack here. We're over 100 big blinds, just like that. It's just that easy. In the last one that I did, where I finished 10th, I had ace 5 beat ace queen, and then ace 10 beat ace queen. So I mean, I feel like you gotta get lucky in these ones to build a stack. Yeah. Fold there, fold there. So there's a 4x raise from under the gun. Folds to us. We have ace 10 suited. They have somewhere around 50 bigs. I think at the time, I just super deep stack play. This is something I'll talk about in a different video. I actually like ace 10 suited as a 3-bet if you're like 3, 4, 500 big blinds deep. 100 big blinds, I thought it was just no. I don't want to get 4-bet. It's too good to re-raise and fold, so I just flat. And flop comes king, king, 6. They bet pot. Did you see the last video at all? Did you see the ace jack versus queen's hand at all? Did we talk about that one? Right. I double floated and then made a shove on the river and then binked the ace.
I did, yes.
So this is kind of the same like situation-ish. It's like they just bet out pot. It's like very unlikely they have a king, but I've got my stack at this point. I'm like a little under 100 big blinds, so didn't want to start just kind of like donking that opportunity away. Very next hand, a raise, another 4x raise. Call with ace jack suited, and just same type of thing. Just they bet pot on the flop and just getting rid of it. Feels like the prudent thing to do.
Now, is that on a non-paired flop? Are we maybe taking one with backdoor spades?
I think so.
Or is it the sizing that led to the fold?
I think it's the sizing. I think it's just
because they're just gonna slam it in your face on every turn, pretty
right.
much.
Yeah, other people are kind of in that same mentality that I'm in right now, where they're just gonna be like just trying to build a stack, trying to get something going, and it just feels like for this sizing, I can find better spots, I think.
Yeah.
And I'm very likely to be against a lot of pairs. A lot of pairs play these type of boards this way. But definitely not something I
mean, they have a full-size pot jam on the turn. If you call, I guess you can't really do anything here.
Right. That was the thing with... That's why I was kind of bringing up that hand before. Is just it's really hard to maneuver when, like, especially when you know that second bullet's coming. It's like it's one of those things where, like, I know this is a situation that doesn't line up and doesn't make a lot of sense, but there's not a ton I can do about it either. So, let go of the. I hope I said ace jack of spades here. I'm trying to make this good for people to listen audibly and not just not have to sit there and actually watch it. This is something I hate that it does. When I show one card, it doesn't show the other card. I believe I had ace 3 suited here. So
that can't be true because you have the 3 of spades.
That
and
is
ace of spades
not true. What the fuck did I have? Fuck. I don't even remember. That sucks. So there's a limp, another limp, and I make it 6x. Middle position calls. Flop range advantage. Just this board's gonna smash me. What the hell did I have? This is the problem with doing it a couple weeks later, I guess. I think this is the only hand where I showed one card, but it's interesting that I don't have ace 3 suited here. So flop, I just bet 3/4 pot, it looks like. They call, turns a 10, and I overbet. I bet 21,000 into 20,000, and they fold, show a jack. Could I have had 10-3 suited here? That doesn't...
Makes more sense than ace 3.
Yeah.
Although I don't know why you'd be 6xing 10-3 suited.
Well, versus limpers. Like, you got to bully the limpers. I mean, you can't...
Sure.
I don't want a bunch of limp wieners in my face, like you gotta get that shit out of there. So I think this is the only hand like this. I apologize for not remembering. I hate that this is a thing where they don't show the other card when you show one. That's annoying. But we move on.
Not as annoying as the player who overbets and shows you a 3.
Thanks. Thanks for that contribution. I see why you won all those awards. So, more Limpy Dicks. Under the gun +1 calls. We, it looks like, pot it with ace of spades, queen of clubs. They call. Flop is jack of clubs, 10 of diamonds, 4 of hearts. So we have 2 overs and a gutter. They check to us. The solvers, from a lot of the studying I've seen, really like to check back ace king and ace queen a lot. It's kind of that like hand in that hand class that's like you're not gonna get pairs to fold, but it's all you beat everything else type situations. I find myself checking back ace king and ace queen a lot. Like as I mentioned, I'm not the guy who does stuff 100% of the time. Just want to make sure the microphone's on. Okay. But maybe with 2 over cards and a gutter, maybe this is a spot to continue betting. But
well, I think part of the reason it likes checking back too is because if you get check raise jammed on, you've really forced yourself to fold a lot of equity.
Right, exactly, yeah. And to your point, this is exactly what ends up happening. Like if I would have bet, and there's a lot of hands here, a lot of room for them to check jam with value. Mm-hmm. And like, if I get checked jammed on by king queen, it's a fucking disaster. I have the best hand and a ton of equity. But so it worked out in this case, and this is kind of an example of what happens. Like I checked, we hit the ace, they bet, I raised small, so they bet half pot. I raised small. I have to assume for value. Not a ton to like protect from. The only really like terrible river card is like a queen. Like a jack isn't great either, I guess, but yeah, could have kept their bluffs in, but also wanted to, I guess, get value. I don't know. It's an interesting raise.
With their stack to pot ratio, I don't think it makes sense.
To raise, you mean?
To raise that size, I feel like flatting and jamming are the only 2 things you should be doing.
Yeah.
Jamming to maybe get someone to try to hero call you with a king jack, queen jack that check the flop. And also you can represent hearts.
Maybe I was trying to price in a jack or something, make it a tough thing for a jack, but I definitely looking at this now. So it's been a couple weeks maybe since I played this.
These are just nitpicks. This isn't.
No. I think calling is probably far and away the best play. And then I think raising, jamming would be second best, and then I choose the worst thing. So
can't argue with the results.
That's called results-oriented thing. All right, I'm not gonna do the voice. I forgot I'm talking to people here.
It was a terrible play. Is that what you want to hear?
It's a terrible play. You suck. It should have been me in this, not you.
Should have been you.
There will be inside jokes. I can guarantee you during this process. You'll have to bear with us, people. All right, so we get a little lull in the action. So another under the gun limp. Holy, This is what I'm dealing with here.
And another 5.5x.
And then another pot. Yeah, make it with queen jack off on the button, and they fold, take it down. Yeah, got a big stack here at this point. I'm the chip leader of my table, just trying to bully these people.
Isolate the donks.
Yeah, exactly. They don't fold to just standard 3x raises. Gotta punish them. Looks like we're going into bully mode because it folds to us and we open Jack 9 off for a min raise. I pretty much always, if I'm opening min raise on these type of sites, get a couple calls. Comes Ace Queen 3 Rainbow. It looks like it just in a multi-way pot. Like I do have range advantage, but it also just looks like with this combo, I'm just not looking to.
Just an unnecessary spot to just mix in a triple barrel.
Right, exactly. Yeah, if I'm going for it on this, then I'm going to be going for it. but people don't really like to fold. So it checks through, and then on the flop, with and then fold the turn of king of diamonds. So I need to keep reminding myself to say it. So I have jack of spades, 9 of hearts. It comes ace, queen, 3, and we just give up and fold to a turn bet.
Oh, wow.
Looks like this was a big pot.
Yeah, you're down to 10, almost 11,000 after these hands.
Holy crap. So what happened here? So
Less than 20
psychotic
bigs.
Yeah. Psychotic, which is a person not that I know personally, but is a regular on the app. They limp. We isolate the limp again, and the big blind calls. So we have king of hearts, jack of spades. Psychotic limps in middle position, and we pot it again. It looks like the big blind calls, the limper folds. The flop comes queen of diamonds, 7 of clubs, deuce of spades, and we bet a third of a pot. So this is one of those special flops. This is the no draw flop, like the queen 7 deuce rainbow, king 8 deuce rainbow, king 7 deuce rainbow. No draws available. So my thinking and approach on this type of flop with this type of hand is this is the type of hand that blocks their calling range the most. Like the hands we're worried about most here are king, queen, and queen, jack. So I think this is an appropriate spot to go for triples usually. So we bet a third of a pot. They raise, and we float.
They give you the old see where I'm at raise.
Yeah. So this is interesting. So we decide to float. So we're blocking the stuff that we're scared of. And the only things this like really makes sense to do with would be, I guess, like sets and then like queens. A lot of this I'm
as in one pair of queens.
Right. Yeah, with a pair of queens. Thank you. So much of this also, like when I play, a lot of this comes down to feel. Like a lot of this, like this raise just on this type of board just feels.
It's a weird spot for them to raise anything.
Right.
Sets would probably not raise here, and
like we just talked about what a bad play it was like for me to raise. Like usually if like I'm bluffing like with a hand like this, like you want me to keep bluffing. So the turn is this 5 of clubs, bringing in a backdoor flush draw. We check. They bet. It looks like a third pot, and we jam. It's had a plan, and I'm sticking to it.
yeah, it's not my favorite play in the world, but I think you can be making this play on aces, 9s, 10s, kings. I don't know if the 5 of clubs is the one to pick the time.
And then, so what ends up actually happening is they call off their stack with pocket jacks, and we miss and go down to less than 20 bigs. So what don't you like about this turn bet specifically? So let me just say real quick, like something I talked about, a theme that I kind of talked about with, especially with that ace jack hand. A lot of these plays that are basically, to summarize it falls under the category of fancy play syndrome. Like maybe against like thinking players and against players who are capable of stuff, this type of stuff might have like a higher success rate and look cool or whatever. But on Club GG, on sites, you could equate this to like 1-3 no limit at your casino. Like if people just aren't gonna fucking fold hands, then it doesn't really matter. Like if your goal is to represent something and exercise your fold equity and you don't have any fold equity, then the play is just kind of dumb.
Yeah, well, you definitely have fold equity, but I don't really know what you're repping either.
So I think in this line I'm essentially repping like a big, basically king queen plus, I think is what I'm repping the most, like king queen, ace queen, kings, and aces. I don't think I would 3-bet this super dry flop versus somebody who is raising me. So, okay, so here's... So
this seems like the kind of flop that would be 3-bet.
The super dry flop?
Yeah. But that's not...
So why is that? Because, like, you would normally 3-bet, I think, to... So you're saying...
Because I think if you're playing under the assumption that sets don't raise the flop, what's raising you on this flop?
Garbage, right? Like nothing, or just naked queens?
Or yeah, that's what I mean. If you're if you're targeting queens, like your shove on the turn would indicate, that's why I think 3-betting the flop would make the most sense.
But you don't think that would scare them off? Like on such a dry flop, like I'm not repping any draws.
No, but it seems like it seems like you're basically preventing the check back on the turn that actually a hand like jacks, I figure, would do. But
right, that's another part of this too. Is people do such like strange things. Like nothing about this hand, from his perspective, makes like a ton of sense. So this is kind of what we're dealing with here. So there's two kind of ways on the turn I feel like that I want to frame this. Number one is I could just go exploitable and not really have a ton of bluffs. But the other way to frame it, if I am looking to like be balanced, so if I am doing king queen plus here, then would this in that case be like a good hand to balance it out with, you think, or would you mainly hold that to the hands like clubs, like suited aces with clubs?
I think your logic with your actual hand makes sense, but I'm probably less aggressive than you, but I kind of feel like the turn's just to give up.
Do you think the turn's just to give up, or you think the flop's just to give up?
Well, for the sizing they chose, I don't know if folding the flop is probably the play, but I think that your continues on the turn come from cards not the 5 of clubs or along that line.
So you would continue on like
a
king, a jack, a 10,
an ace, a king, a jack. I mean, I'm saying if you take this line, I feel like with this line, check raising the turn, I would probably think on an ace, a 10, an ace, a king, a 10, or a 9 is probably the way to do it. Because a jack, all of a sudden you have showdown value versus like 8s, 9s, 10s.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And plus you can, I mean, maybe that's too narrow of a hand, like a card to be able to.
That's kind of what I'm thinking, is like if I'm calling the flop, I feel like giving up on everything except those. Like this is a weird hand. I forgot about this one. I'm not gonna lie. This is
like, are you stoked to jam king queen on this turn?
Yeah, on Club GG for sure. Okay. On Club GG and in this satellite type format, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, honestly,
this isn't the player you said you recognized, right?
No. He was the limper.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I have no idea who this person is. They find the call with jacks, and we're back down to less than the starting stack. This is super interesting. Any other closing thoughts on it, or did you?
No, I mean, like I said, I think the hand selection, if you're gonna do it's probably the right one, like you said.
Yeah, the only better
top pairs, but
the obvious stuff, would be like king jack of clubs, or those type of hands like that would obviously be better, but
not taking the very near zero equity bluff.
It had good blocking properties. When in doubt, just blame it on blockers.
Sure.
But we bounce right back. It looks like I threw an egg at him, as you can see. So folds to us for once. No limpers in this pot, right? Yeah. So no limpers on the button. It looks like I just do like a really big pot open. Yeah, because there's no limpers.
4.5x.
Yeah, we're getting it. I'm probably back at this point in build a stack mode.
Yeah, this is I want to get it in on the flop.
Right. Yeah. So they call, big blind calls.
And
we have ace of clubs, 4 of clubs. Yeah, it comes ace of diamonds, jack of diamonds, 9 of spades, and it goes check check. So pure I like to mix it up. I like to be unpredictable, I like to be in build a stack mode and then throw you a curveball. It's like, oh, maybe I'm not. But no, in all seriousness, from the quote unquote GTO perspective, like these are the types of like aces that if you're going to have aces in your check back range, then it's these like these ones that don't have the backdoor flush or are the weak ones. If you're going to be balanced, these are the types of ones that you want to do. So we check it back. Turn is the 8 of diamonds, so there's 3 diamonds on the board. They check, we bet pot, and they just fold. So getting back close to starting stack. Just trying to get value, from 1 diamond hands and from just from the deception of playing an ace this way. All good?
Yeah, just the wettest turn card in the world to just full pot it right in their face for half your stack.
You know me, I like it nice and wet. All right, got some folds for a while. There's an under the gun raise. We shove our stack with ace jack off. Not ideal to do it versus an under the gun range, but at the same time,
it's not the king 2 suited. So
we're improving. I read a book and we're learning stuff.
In San Diego?
That psychotic guy, his actual name, raises jam queen 10 off from the button. We get the fold and he shows an ace. That's low. That's always love it. You get
Printing.
the ace fold. Yeah, printing. Again, blockers. All right. This is
this is a doozy.
holy shit. So clearly in build a stack mode, it folds to us and we jam ourselves a solid what is that, 30 bigs with 4 or 5 suited.
Indeed it is.
So I'm glad that you all are here to learn some premium poker lessons. No, but again, in all seriousness, first place gets an $11,000 package. Second place gets jack shit. And there's 1,265 people in this tournament. I mean, you're not going to get there by folding your way, winning a bunch of like all-ins. Like you have to build a stack or you have to rely on luck. Speaking of relying on luck, we jam 4-5 of clubs and get called by ace queen, and the flop comes ace 5-5, and we're right back to that a little over 50-ish big blind range. So this is the kind of, I've by this point, by the time this one comes around, I've played and re-entered in probably 10, 20, like I've probably spent 20, 30 tickets on this. So like this strategy, like there's a lot of failures that like I didn't record them all. So, it's not like, oh, I just played and got lucky. It's like, no, I've put in a lot of time where things didn't work out. And this is one where things worked out. So that's that. And then very next hand, we open jacks to a more standard 3x size. We're deeper, just trying to, I guess this is like a pot geometry thing. Like I'm just trying to make it more of a... We're deeper, so you can open a little bit bigger and helps you get stacks in on future streets. It's a short stack raise. Like I raised a 2100 with pocket jacks. He jams for 8,000 more. Obvious call with jacks. We flop a set. He turns a set of aces, and not really much to say there.
So just looking at this for your reference, this is 8,000 total now. We can see since you only called 6,100.
Okay, thank you. That's a good point. Yeah, no, thank you. That's good to know. Yeah, so he jams for 8,000 total. We call 6,000 more. That is good to point out so we don't make that mistake 50,
and you get the heartbreak.
Feeling good about yourself, and then I don't even get a whole hand to enjoy it. And
the brutal run out to tease with your emotions.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Yep, so now we're on monkey tilt, and we can continue. Damn. Okay, so... Here we go, right back at it. So now, interesting that I min-raise right after that. This is early position, though, so I guess it's a stronger. This is under the gun, so I guess it's viewed as stronger. Maybe I'm just mixing it up.
This isn't where you jam 30 bigs with 5-4 suited?
Maybe it is.
I keep them on their toes.
Gotta mix it up, you can't be predictable
in life. That is the absolute mixiest of ups.
We get a flat, so we under the gun min raise with ace of diamonds, queen of clubs. We get a flat from middle position. That psychotic guy again calls in the small blind, and the big blind jams for 17,000, which is
23 bigs.
Glad we got you here. We got the human calc doing work. Seems like a pretty easy rejam with ace queen.
Absolutely. Dead money from the small blind.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. We get it in against sevens and river the queen because we are the best. Psychotic shows king queen. They did not participate in the hand, but they showed that they had king queen. So
it was 25 bigs. I did the wrong math.
I'm sorry about this guy. He fucking
no, pretty
garbage.
standard. Pretty standard.
Yeah, pretty standard. Not a ton to talk about there. Back to some folding for a while. So we have a little under 100 bigs, it looks like, or started the hand. Okay, so we're significantly under 100 bigs.
90.
Yeah. Folds to us. We have ace 9 off in the hijack, and we min raise. One big stack to our left, that guy who owned us with the jacks, who has us covered. Everybody else is a bit shorter. Looks like the big blind started the hand with less than 20 bigs, so that's always, when you're opening, that's always kind of something you want to keep an eye on, is like what stack does the button have, what stack does the big blind have, because those are the two you're going to be most likely going to be tangoing with. It folds to the big blind, who just defends. Flop comes 10, 7, 6. More on that flop later. It's called foreshadowing.
Wonder who flopped a straight near the end of the tournament.
So this type of board, I think, pretty significantly favors the big blind. So they check, and this might be actually a type of hand to like consider betting when you have the 9, like blocking the straights, and then like the 10-9 type hands and that type of thing. But I still think overall you're going to want to do a lot of checking on this board. So I decided to do that. Seems to be working out for me, these things, because we turn the ace, they check, we bet pot. It looks like a very draw heavy board, obviously 2 flush draws out there, and a bunch of straight draws, so don't want to like bet small and give them odds to call. They jam for 11,000, so it's 7,000 more. Not much. Do you think there's anything to think about, or just pretty standard call? It seems like
standard.
Yeah, standard call.
The thing I also like about the large turn sizing is you're obviously not laying a price for really weak hands to maybe get there, but you also maximize how much you're getting from those draws that would continue for half to full pot. By not going half pot, you basically double the amount of equity you put in there by going with the large size.
Right.
So the hands that maybe, in this case, you obviously knock them out, but at the hands that would call half pot and fold the river now have to call full pot and fold the river, and you're making yourself more money.
Yeah, there's the term I heard for that. Back when I was in the early days of studying from the Poker Bank, I think the channel was called. There's a concept of inelasticity, especially in like cash games. Like if somebody's gonna call the same range with if they're gonna call a 4x open.
It's such a cool way to say sticky.
Yeah, exactly right. The cool way is to say it, I guess. If somebody's going to be sticky, then if they're going to call the same range at full pot that they're going to call half pot, then you might as well charge them the full pot.
Yeah, you're costing yourself value by not.
Right. So yeah, we call. They have ace 8. We have them totally pipped, and
dodge the chop.
Yeah, dodge the chop,
and
dodge the bing, dodge it all. So 63,000. So now we're just under 100 bigs. And looking good, feeling good. So it folds. We're back to the limps, middle position limps, and we have ace 7 offsuit, ace of diamonds, and we punish the limper. Get a nice, looks like pot size raise in there. They call. Flop is queen of diamonds, 8 of spades, 5 of spades. They check. And it looks like we just we have to have put them in, right? Yeah, we just put them all in on this flop. So we pot. They only have 11,000 behind. The pot's 9,000, and we just go full bully mode. I don't think besides like a queen and like a flush draw, there's like a ton to be scared of on this like type of board. This feels just like I'm the raiser. I have range advantage. I have Unless if you don't have a queen, you're folding or a flush draw type thing. So this just feels like your standard bully spot. you have
Another example of limp calling raises not working out.
yeah, and then another, as with the type that I guess with potting, but what you were just saying, like this is a significant amount of their stack to put in. I mean, I made it 3,800. They only started with close, I guess, to like 15,000. I mean, they just put in close to a third of their stack and just check folded. I mean, this is at this point, we're talking about some pretty basic stuff like why you don't limp, why you don't call raises with weak hands and then fold a bit. And this is, I guess, is a good example for newer players of why you don't do stuff like that. Like you're just going to get mowed over by the big stacks. And then I guess to make it not just for the beginner players, like this is an example of like why you want to build a big stack, is so you can just take advantage of these like smaller stacks and do stuff like this. Like even if I lost this pot, I still have a significant stack, but I'm able to build my stack through plays like this.
Whole lot of nada going on.
A whole lot of nada. That was my favorite fantasy football name. Haloti Nada. I used to play for the Ravens as a D tackle, and that was my fantasy name. A whole lot of nada, but it was spelled Ngata. That's like my favorite. So middle position +1, min raises. The blinds are 400, 800 at this point. The button calls, and we have 7-5 offsuit, 7 of diamonds, 5 of hearts in the big blind. These type of hands, it's much better to call in a heads up spot. I can probably fold this, but these lower cards do realize their equity much better than other hand classes. They're a lot easier to play. You either like smash or it's usually a pretty easy fold. I like to play post flop. I'm pretty confident, even in like multi-way pots. If I was coaching somebody and trying to get them to play optimally, I'd probably say in a multi-way pot, just let this go, even for a min raise.
Agreed, because then you wind up in a situation four-handed where you have bottom pair and they bet one big blind and you're seeing a turn.
Right, yeah.
With most likely 2 outs.
That's what people don't really get, is like when you're looking at the EV of a spot, like people kind of just think of it as like that, like one action. It's like, oh, what is the EV of like calling in this spot? But people don't like realize like part of the EV and like why it's negative EV is you get yourself into these post flop spots where you end up having to put more money in because now you got a pair, now you got a flush draw, now you made 2 pair, but you're up against a set. It's like that negative EV comes from losing big pots. It's not just like, oh, I'm losing 800 chips by calling here. It's I'm getting myself in a spot where I'm going to lose a bunch of chips. So the more, it's just, I don't...
I make these plays a lot in real time. It's easy to look at them and be like, oof.
Right.
And that's not that this is that horrible, but I just mean in general. But yeah, sometimes when you step back and look at them, it's like, yes, this is probably a leak of mine too.
I'm glad that I have you to kind of bring me back down to earth when I say stuff like this. So like, the more confident you are, the more experienced you are, the more comfortable you are navigating these post-flop spots, like the less of a mistake this becomes. In this particular instance, we flop bottom pair on an ace-high board, ace-9-7. It goes check, bet. It's a min bet, so even though it's four-handed, we peel to try and bink that 7. Even hitting a 5, like, it sucks. This is a perfect example. We hit the 5. Somebody is going to have 8-6, a non-zero percentage of the time, and then
top and bottom of the flop, turn ace-5 suited. There's a bevy of hands that get you in trouble with a 5.
So we're calling to pretty much only bink the 7, and then even then, like the flush can still come. There's ace-7 of spades on the board. We check on the turn. The turn's an ace, and so there's 2 aces on the board. I check. There's a pretty big bet. It looks like more than 3/4 pot, and everybody folds. But that's just kind of an example of why not to do stuff like that. I think the best play would just be to fold in this spot.
But an important note, maybe you didn't make the best decision pre-flop, but you made the best decision the next time you had the chance to, not compounding errors.
I didn't get attached, didn't feel the need to protect those chips. So yay me. You're supposed to bring me back down to earth. You're supposed to fucking bust my balls. You're not supposed to fucking...
Those balls needed busting.
So next hand we have... if I start off with the ball jokes, it's just gonna make us both look bad. So I'm gonna.
We're already there. We're already there, pal.
Like George Costanza, just gonna end it on a high note. And yes, that for us that was a high note. So it folds to middle position. We got another limp. Way to go, Club GG.
You think one of these people would be trapping you at some point?
The button limps. We're in the small blind, out of position, so we make it pretty big with a king of diamonds, queen of clubs. So the limps are for 800. We make it 5,600, and they fold. Out of position, you definitely want to go larger. Take that betting initiative. They fold, so not a ton to talk about there. And if you actually want to add something in, feel free to stop me and be like, actually, sir.
If you actually want to, like I've been sitting here in silence the whole time.
If you ever want to get involved or anything, feel free, buddy.
The most dangerous spot in the world. We have 5-4 suited.
5-4 suited, so some chips are going to be going in. We don't open jam this time. There's a under the gun +1 limp for 800. We make it 4,400. Yeah, hey, we've learned from our mistakes. They call, so the limper they want a piece this time. They want a piece of the action. Flop comes queen, queen 4 with 1 diamond, so we flop. I hate when people say this. We flop two pair.
Flop top 2.
We flop top 2.
Queen 4.
So we have a pair of 4s for all intents and purposes with the backdoor flush draw. They check. We bet third pot-ish, looks like. And they call super dry board. I think I'm going to be attacking this most of the time, even with queens. When we grew up, or you want to occasionally be balanced and trap with some queens over. But against a weak range like this, like when people are limp calling, I pretty much just want to attack. A 4, obviously, or maybe to newer players, not obviously, isn't the type of hand that I feel like it's so vulnerable. And with the backdoor flusher, I feel like this is kind of like the perfect candidate to keep betting. I feel like there's almost no value besides pure deception in checking back.
It could be less about value and more about protection too, though. Against ace high and Broadway hands.
Right, definitely want to be protecting. Even getting 9-8 suited to fold, like against this type of hand, like they have enough equity that getting them to fold is a good thing. They call though. The turn is the 7 of hearts. They check, and I bet small again. And it looks like this is probably around quarter pot. This is something actually. This isn't the exact situation we talked about. Not me and you. This is with another guy that plays, but I feel like a lot of the time I might have just kind of given up here and just want to pot control and evaluate the river. But this is something I've been working in a lot more, where betting small on the turn allows me. It's closer to like the limit poker play, where you raise in order to get them to check on the river.
Yes.
So betting small here, I feel like is going to get me to have them check a lot more, and then I feel like it's better to reevaluate rivers than to reevaluate turns. So that's what happens here. They call, and then since we're talking about this, as predicted, they just go ahead and decide to fucking open bet 3/4 pot 20K. And you can see on here, that means I took my time down pretty far. This doesn't make a ton of sense to me unless unless they have a queen. Which a queen does make some sense here, which I think is why I ultimately decided to fold. I just putting in close to half my stack. Like the fact that it's a limp just makes it weird. Like I don't think they play pocket pairs like this.
7-7 would make sense.
7-7 definitely.
That's only 2 combinations,
right?
3 combinations.
7-7 does make a ton of sense here. I don't think I was thinking about that in the moment. I think I was worried about a queen or nothing. But looking at it now, 7-7 makes a ton of sense, and them just not wanting me to check back.
You're afraid of the check back on the river, because that small bet does kind of seem like you're trying to get to a river cheaply,
right?
And I know you're smart enough to do that with, let's say, king queen here, but I think that's how someone would interpret that size in game.
I like a block bet a lot better from them than this sizing. Like I know they just I see people do this all the time. Like, it's so, you want to get paid, you want to get value. Like, it's so tough, like out of position to check,
It's
and
greedy.
they check back.
It's what it is.
Right.
It's greedy.
Right. So I like the fold here. I took the time down, so I must have clearly been like suspecting something, but there just isn't like a ton of like natural bluffs here unless they're the type to like float with whatever of hearts, you know, like ace, whatever, ace 10 of hearts, or excuse me, ace 10 of hearts or something. But I think fold here is the prudent thing. No reason to be a hero. Put our stack on the line that we worked so hard for and played so great for. Couple early position limpers. We have king 10 off and we make it pretty big and they fold. So, and we would have flopped 2 pair. But don't limp, people. Don't open limp. It's not good. But you know, we're on Club GG, a lot of recreational players here, so I mean, I'm not gonna hammer them too hard. No, people just trying to get involved, play pots or whatever. No limp this time. We just under the gun folds. We min raise ace queen of clubs. Middle position calls and the big blind calls. So we're 3-handed. The flop comes queen of hearts, 3 of hearts, 4 of clubs. So we flop top pair, top kicker, feeling good. Already, I think this is a little interesting. Bet 3/4 pot. So the pot's 6,000, and I bet 4,500 after the big blind checks. This isn't. I mean, there is a flush draw available. This is something I would more expect on like a queen 10-3 board. Like this is on the drier side. Like not going to be having not a ton of like 2 pairs or like anything to worry about. I'm a little surprised seeing this that I bet 3/4 pot here. So they started the hand pretty close to me in chips. Maybe this is just a deeper play thing. Maybe just wanted to build a pot with a big hand like this.
Yeah, I think like you said, the big sizing comes on the few, like the no straight draw flops, or maybe just the pure rainbow, or both. But I like the big sizing. When I think you're 55 bigs deep with the player, you end up, spoiler alert, busting. But yeah, I like the big sizing on the flop. There's tons of hands that can continue, and might as well start building a pot.
Sorry, I got really excited because I looked ahead, dude. I didn't mean to cut you off there, but this is actually pretty fucking funny, I think. So they raise pretty small. Like I bet 4,500, they make it 9,400, and we talked about 3-betting and like what I would do or whatever. So I go ahead and 3-bet the ace queen here.
In your defense, there was a drier board than this one was.
That and something that I say constantly that I want to make sure of. I am the type of player, the type of person. I don't like to do anything 100%. Like I like to be capable of all the different things in the same situation. Like I want to 3-bet here sometimes. I want to call sometimes. A lot of it can just come down to like things such as type of player I'm against, like randomness, like perception, those things. Like there are a whole bunch of different things that can make me want to take an action. In this particular case, decided to 3-bet. God, do you have to be so loud putting that down? My goodness. No. We like to have fun here, as they would say on Family Guy. So we re-raise. They jam, and we call. I remember not being like entirely thrilled with the prospect of getting it in here. I think getting in against like king queen is kind of, or a flush draw is pretty much what I'm hoping for. But I mean, we're just obviously never folding, and they have the king queen, and we hold.
The king queen, no hearts.
The king queen, no hearts. Yeah, just
or no heart. I mean, but
just no.
Just about as good as you can get it in on that flop for
pretty much the best case scenario here. And now we're well over 100 bigs.
120, yeah.
We can do the math. We have the technology. So 107 divided by 800. So we're sitting a solid 133.75 bigs. Looking good. Very next hand. Blinds are 500, 1,000 now. We min raise under the gun with ace-6 suited.
Wait, real quick.
Yeah.
Just go back here. This is what I mean about, are you stoked to get it in with king queen on this kind of a board? But just saying.
And I said yes, because I know at worst I'm chopping. No. Yeah. I guess, yeah, we're getting a little deeper now. Like the play is starting to, as these, limp donkeys start to slowly subside, the quality of the play is obviously going to go up a bit. So we have ace six of hearts, min raise under the gun. We get calls from the blinds. And the flop comes 10 of hearts, deuce of hearts, tree of spades. So we flop the nut flush draw. They check. I bet. Looks like a third pot. Again.
So this is interesting because this is essentially the same kind of flop as the ace queen hand, except obviously it's 10 high, and you chose a third on this one. Any particular reason why?
I guess
trying to induce from more straws.
I guess this is again, it could be just mixing up, have like the solvers prefer different sizing and stuff, but I think my thought process in general is just, I think although it is very similar, it is technically a lot drier. Like the 10 is worse than the queen, and deuce 3 is slightly worse than before.
Right.
Also, I'm under the gun.
Oh, sorry, didn't mean that.
As opposed to under the gun +1.
But I would also think a 10 high flop would lend itself to a larger sizing as opposed to a queen high flop that in reality has 2 overs that it's facing.
Like I said, So I hear what you're saying. I think
this is just a question. I'm not saying it's right or wrong.
That's why, and especially knowing myself, I think the last one was more surprising than this one. Like, this is more typical of like what I would expect with range. I think having the top kicker, like I must have just been in pot build mode, like just trying to go for stacks against king queen and queen type hands. Whereas this one I think is more typical of my overall range, like nut flush draws.
You should look this one up because I'm gonna take the other side. I bet it's a larger bet on the flop.
You think this one is a larger bet? I think when
10 high boards are, my guess. This is not out of any little to no solver experience, but I would bet that there are boards that want bigger bets.
I think it's typically when there's two like cards like that, like on 10-9 boards. Like I heard, I'm not gonna take credit for this, but I heard Ben CB say that like 10-9 boards are like notorious for being like huge bets on the flop. Like 8-7 boards, like those, like if this was 10-9 deuce or like 8-7 deuce, and like I'm sure there will be other ones like this where we'll see it, so refer back to this, but I typically go for larger sizings on those type of boards. The fact that I'm against the blinds, like, so that's the thing, is like this type of board also, like even in the big blind, like I'm not super worried about like 10 deuce off, 10-3 off. Like there's only like really deuce 3 suited and maybe 10-3 suited and 10 deuce, like those type of hands that like I'm worried about. But yeah, I guess, but yeah, I mean, it could just be like I said, like sometimes I choose a big sizing, sometimes I don't. Like,
and we have another 3-bet flop on our hands.
And yeah, so the big blind check raises to, I didn't even look ahead. Wow, you're right. I thought that was the end of it. There's more. The big blind check raises to 10,000, and
which is about 5x. A little less than 5x.
Yeah, 5x, and so that's Jimmy 2x. So we're pretty deep here.
Jimmy 2x.
Jimmy 2x, not living up to his name, goes the full 5x. We're pretty deep. Like we both started this hand 100 big blinds deep. So he does that, and I don't jam. It looks like I click it back, make it 29, make it just under 30,000. So that's not a click back, but that's also not a jam. I guess I'm just trying to look strong, like I'm under the gun, he's flatting. Like I guess I mean, if he has a set, good for him. I'm happy to get it in here. So I still have the mentality, like you still have to get first. I'm nowhere near close to a position where I can just fold my way to the final table and play it out. But I'm being more selective now, like getting it in. Here's a spot where I do have some fold equity, like a 10. When I'm under the gun raise, I bet and then re-raise. Like a 10 isn't like thrilled to get 100 big blinds in here by any means. I think the worst type of hand that I get this in with is a flush draw, maybe 4 or 5, but if I even have that.
By happy to get it in, you mean you'd be willing to get it in with the nut flush draw on this board, right? I mean, this isn't a fist pump, get it in.
Not get it in, but
if he ships it in your face.
But it also is a situation where, like, I'm looking for spots to, like, if I get it in here and, like, can get, like, that 200 big blind stack, then, like, now we can really make a run of this thing.
So the reason I like the other raise here is, like, you can see jams from 6-5 of hearts and, you know, those kind of, I mean, you obviously block the wheel hearts, but you can get worse draw by, not like you said, it's not a click back, but by putting in that small 3-bet on the flop, you can induce from non-paired heart hands or, you know, whatever. Too.
Yes, can induce, and then also I think what I was going for here, it also does look stronger. Like, it looks like you want action. Like, it looks like aces or kings just being like, come on, man, get in there.
It
get
is
in there with your little 10.
raise.
So I like this one. Finally a hand that I can, like, get behind, you know, a hand where I don't have to, like, explain myself and be like, well, you know, a hand that we actually both like. So there's some limpiness, and I decide, you know what? There's so much
the button, the power of the button.
So much limp dick going on, you know. I'm like, you know what? I wanna feel what it's like to have a limp dick for once. You know, here I am just swinging all this, like, massive, fucking veiny dick around. You know, I'm just like, I want to feel what it's like, you know. So I limp the button with 8-6 of spades, to make sure my dictation is in place.
Well done.
The big blind checks, so we're four-handed, and the flop comes king of diamonds, 7 of clubs, 5 of spades. So we flop the open-ender to the nuts on both ways with the backdoor flush draw. It checks to the cutoff, who bets, third pot. Interesting spot to consider a raise. I decide in this case to just call. I guess just being on the button and having a nut draw is just such an advantageous spot to be in that I probably, even though it would be nice to get folds with this hand, I just probably want to hit my 4 or 9 and then be in position and be able to win a massive pot. Clearly
winning with 8 high is always a good thing.
Right, winning with 8 high is a good thing. I guess in a multi-way pot with a king on board, I guess I'm not going to get the amount of folds that I would like, probably. So we're against Jimmy 2X again. He's still pretty deep, so I think this is a spot where I'm probably, like, looking to get stacks in, and I guess the best way to do that, I feel, is to try and hit. I wouldn't fault anybody for raising. Do you lean? Do you have so are you saying you would prefer a raise here?
Yeah, on with a backdoor flush draw, I think so.
Sorry, go on.
I just think there's a lot of good turn cards that you can generate folds from. You can obviously make the nuts into where you're decreasing the stack to pot ratio with someone who's deeper. And yeah, you can get to the river. If you get to the river, you can reevaluate if you want to go for the third barrel. You're not going to have to get to the river more often than not. And I think it doesn't feel like a spot where you'd be bloating the pot unnecessarily. But like you said, you have a chance to draw the nuts in position. And if this is a flop where, you know, sets can be flopped, if they would be betting this with 5s and 7s, I'm sure, unblocking top pairs. So maybe it is a good hand to smooth call and, you know, avoid the middle pair pairing on the turn with a backdoor flush draw that's not yours.
I think one of the key things is, like, playability and, like, equity denial. So, like, one of the, like, main reasons when people don't raise their draws is that it sucks to get re-raised and get, like, blown off your equity. But this isn't one of those spots. Like, we're deep enough to where, like, even if I raise and he 3-bets me, I'm drawing to the nuts, I have the backdoor flush draw, I can still peel in position. So I think that favors raising.
Yeah, they're all clean outs to the nuts.
Yeah.
And you can handle, unless they just go crazy. And
right, unless they jam.
70,000 in your face, which is like.
But if they're doing that, then like, I do want to be raising because when I have a set, yeah, exactly, then I'm getting the stack. And so I guess, like, the GTO quote unquote, like, solver way to, like, do this would be, like, to raise, like, the spades, clubs and diamonds, and then if I want to call with like 8-6 of hearts.
That's what I would kind of think. And if your open ender to the nuts was Queen Jack on 10-9-3, it's a whole different ball game than 8-6 on King 7-5.
Right, definitely. I agree, but do you want to articulate why? Or
well, I mean, aside from the fact that you have overcards that can make the best hand still, that's kind of like where my thinking is. Like in this, I don't think you have as much showdown value pairing your hand as you do where you have 2 overcards to your open ender.
Yeah, that's a good point. Then I think also another, not saying, no, not that, this is why, but on top of that, I think those draws are much more obvious. Like when the king comes or when the 8 comes, like it's hard to get like stacks in. Whereas here, if I hit the 4 or I hit the 9, it's much easier. Like people are in a spot like, well, unless he has 8-6, then I have to, so it's much easier to get paid. What ends up happening is we call, the big blind calls. The turn is the word, one other than maybe a king, the worst turn in the deck, pairs the board. Big blind checks. They bet 5,000, and I just let it go. Now there's reverse implied odds are in play. Like now, even if I hit the straight, it's not the nuts, and there's the backdoor flush draw present. And
another thing raising the flop does is it probably folds out the big blind like every time.
And so you're right, and that. But
this is your Omaha. I know your Omaha brain's gonna come out here and tell me how you want to make sure to keep people in when you have a chance to make the nuts and make them make a bad play on future streets. But I think you need to focus more on winning with 8 high.
I do agree with you, but I also think that is a valid point that if there is spots where you want to be multi-way, it's when you're making like the disguise nuts. It's like that is when you want people in there with like 9-7, or like that's how you win, like fat stacks and stuff. But I do ultimately agree with your overall point. I think raising is a little better, especially on the button. Easier to play, easier to run multi-barrel bluffs. And yeah. Sorry, we're about to get robbed, so we're just gotta take a little. All right, so I don't know if I said what happened. Yeah, I said there's a bet. I fold. The big blind goes all in, and the cutoff folded. So looks like a raise probably worked out pretty well. I'm guessing. If seems pretty likely that the big blind had a 7, and that
they
the
got
cutoff
priced in.
Yeah,
by someone looking to keep around as many players as possible with 8 high. You won this tournament, right? Is that what you said? Okay.
Won it with excellent plays like these.
The last hand of the tournament is a trap where I knocked out 4 players in one hand.
Oh, that would be so sweet. So we have ace of spades, 10 of clubs, and there's a middle position raise. Go for the re-raise here, a little over 3x the raise. Too weak to flat, too strong to fold. These types of hands make good candidates.
This is like, one of the ideal 3-bet bluffs.
Yeah. They call. The flop is Jack of Diamonds, 7 of Hearts, 4 of Spades. Not the best flop for this type of thing. They check. We bet a third pot. Like if this was like Jack, even like Jack 9, I might size up a bit more. There's some argument to just giving up here. I think
on the flop, or
you can't just c bet 100%. I mean, maybe you can, but so we block like Jack 10. I guess that's about it, and Ace Jack. So it's an okay candidate, but I guess once you're 3-betting, you don't really want to give that up too much. So we bet. They call. The turn's a 3 of Hearts. They check. We keep going, and we unblock hearts and diamonds, which is good. And they fold. We bet, looks like half pot on the turn.
The sizing looks like you were setting up a river jam too, which I like.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess 3-betting and then just giving up like this probably isn't ideal, but
it looks very value heavy.
Yeah, I'm gonna be. This isn't the type of flop where I'm gonna pot control with like overpairs. So I guess if I'm gonna have all these like aces, kings, queens, jacks, that I need to balance that out, and this is a good type of hand to do that with.
Yeah, because if he calls, you're shoving. Let's see, the pot would be 52, and he'd have 44. So you geometric. What? Oh.
Talk louder. No, you're trying to seduce them with your smooth, sexy little Clinton voice, but yeah. I mean, it's a good mic. Like, we probably will be able to hear you, but just
Yeah, we've already tested it, and we heard each other fine. In fact, you were a little loud, if I remember correctly.
Touche, salesman. Oh, I lied. There's one other hand where I showed one card. So I don't remember specifically what I had, but I do remember I showed this as kind of like an image control thing. I was being a bit of a bully at this point. So I min-raise King X. Middle position calls, and the blinds call. Comes King, Jack 6 rainbow, and it checks to me, and I bet 3/4 pot, and they fold, and I show the king just to kind of be like, hey, look at me, guys. I'm playing aggressive, but it's because I have it and not because I'm a total bully. So this was just kind of a little bit of a image control that I decided to do in this particular instance. I kind of, you got to try and feel the table and like feel like what your perception is. And I'd been a little bit aggressive, so I kind of just want to show. And then the turn was an ace, so genius play by me. Avoid the scare card. So, under the gun +1 min raises, and middle position calls, the button calls, and we call in the big blind with 7-4 off. So, like I was saying earlier, with these type of hands, they realize their equity pretty well. And as proof of that, we get the 6 of hearts, 3 of diamonds, 5 of spades flop. Some people call that the nuts.
This is a very loose defend.
But
even in the big blind.
Even in the big blind, if I was coaching somebody and trying to get them to play optimally, I would probably say, could probably let this one go, but we are confident, competent men, so we get in there.
Don't lump me into your decision making in this.
You don't want me to lump you into being a confident, competent man? You don't want to be in that clump?
No, I don't want to be
in that
associated
cluster?
with this decision.
All right. Clint was not present for this decision. Clint did not tell me to do this. I was acting on my own
volition.
Thank you. I was about to say fruition. So this is why we make a good team, man. Thank you.
And that's how you win a poker tournament.
He went to Sac State. I went to Pioneer High School. So
doxing, jeez.
I don't go there anymore. They're not
talking about me, not you.
You don't go there anymore. Right. They already know you're Sacramento, man. Anyway.
Doxing doesn't do with where you currently go to school. It has to do with information that can lead people to find out who you are. And...
If you want to find Clint, go to the tiny little town of Sacramento. He's easy to find.
Legend.
So here, there actually is something to talk about here. Kind of one of the themes of my last video, and what I already know I'm going to be seeing a lot of at the World Series, and kind of like the hot take of this year is leading on when you have range advantage, like the solvers. Did I send you that video of the 7 things that we've learned from solvers?
Yes.
Did you watch it? Mm-hmm. So we don't have to do the whole Andrew Russo shtick of you not watching the stuff. If you want
to discuss it, we can do that.
When you have equity advantages, the solver likes to lead. So this is the type of flop on the big blind that I think I can lead, because I can have 7-4 offsuit and
you're not supposed to have 7-4.
Not supposed to have 7-4, but I can have 6-5 suited, 5-3 suited, 3-6 suited, the sets,
7-4 suited,
7-4 suited, deuce 4 suited.
Even that one's borderline.
Suited is borderline, but I think
any suited is defendable.
Can have it. Yeah. But I decided to check.
And for all those reasons, I opt to check.
Still got to mix it up. No, I. So do you think I should be leading here? I guess would be the question then. Like,
yeah,
even in a 4x.
Because especially if they're going to discount you having 7-4 off, which you wound up.
Would
with
you lead here with bluffs too then? So
yeah,
even in a 4-way spot.
7x backdoor flush draws, 4x's.
Yeah. So this might be I could put it in the bucket of balance and staying whatever, but I really wouldn't expect a ton of bets on this type of board. I guess people with overpairs are probably just going to bet it anyway, but checks to the button who bets third pot.
Yeah, because you can bet any 9, 8, 7, 4 deuce on all your bluffs. You know what I mean?
That's true.
And you're four-handed, which you can clean up a little bit on the flop.
Yeah. I check raise pretty big, and they all fold. Any argument you think to just calling here? Like if there's no flush draw on board, like you trying to build a pot, or do you think calling's better here?
I guess I don't think I'd ever flat call here.
You don't think you ever flat call? So
no.
what are you doing with even 7-6 or like?
Okay. So I guess I meant with this specific hand.
Okay. Yeah. Range play like.
So I guess that kind of makes your point then. If I do have check calls here, then I guess this has to be mixed in once in a while. But
I guess.
I'm not avoiding check calling here with 7-4 for like fear of the turn. There's not
right. That's kind of what I mean is like, especially with the flush draw not present, it might be. And so number one, it keeps their bluff in. So if you're gonna construct your range, I guess I think like the most obvious like check raise candidate might be a hand like 8-7. Like we're gonna have 8-7. If we're gonna build our range around like two pairs, sets, and then like draws, then like maybe if we're gonna have a check call range, like this might be a better hand to put into that range. And
then what? Lead the turn? Because aren't you? I think my biggest fear of check calling the flop is it checking through on the turn, and then you've gotten to the river with 4 hands, and you've got a minimally sized pot with the nuts.
I think the reason I check raise here, and maybe the reason like I like it, I do philosophically like to build pots and play for stacks with like my nutted hands.
Yeah.
So I guess the nuts usually you want to have in your like biggest range, most aggressive.
I like the
range,
check raise.
Yeah,
1,000,000% better than the check call.
Okay, I'm a genius. We can move on.
Size is way too big.
Probably a function of being out of position. So there's
if I bet 400% pot, I can jam 800% pot on the turn. Fucking dweeb.
Who, you or me?
I don't just go around calling myself a dweeb in the third person.
So in the next hand, there's an under the gun min raise. The cutoff calls, and we have ace king of clubs in the small blind. Go for the. I guess this is maybe with a limper even a little small, but I make it 10,800 with ace king of clubs.
That's appropriate. 11x. You can go 9. I mean, I feel like your small blind goes 9x with no callers.
They made it 2,000, so I'm making it 5x their raise, and that's with another caller.
Yeah, I'm saying.
You're saying the big
after
blind,
a min rise,
right.
a min raise to 2x, and then you make it 11 big blinds total out of the small blind.
Yeah,
with one flat call. Seems appropriate.
It seems appropriate, I guess. Yeah, like I said, I keep seeing it like bigger and bigger.
If there was no callers, I feel like 9x would be fine. 9x a big blind, not 9x their raise size.
Yeah, nothing wrong with it. I'm probably just nitpicking at this point. Under the gun jams, not much to think about with ace king suited. They have ace jack and they turn a jack, so it's not all sunshine and rainbows.
There's probably no jack if you raise bigger. Remember that for next time.
But we're still over 100 bigs, so not a time to go on tilt or anything.
Oh yes, this is the level where we don't need the big blind calculator. Oh, and just as I say, it's up to 1200.
Now we need to keep it nice and handy. So we get to take a little break. Raise under the gun with king 10 off. Normally a fold under the gun in a lot of situations, but when you're a big stack bully,
who has faced little to
right,
no
you're right. When you're up against
adversity.
when you're up against like Limpy Dick type people and like passive people, it becomes a lot better. The MP +1 calls, I guess that's what they call it on here. Big blind calls. Flop Jack 4 deuce rainbow. It checks. The small blind checks. The big blind decides to fucking lead. Third pot. I just decide to fold, and middle position shoves, and they fold. The big blind fold. So interesting lead by them. I guess they're just, I don't know. Like, I've been seeing a lot more of this on Club GG. I don't know if this is the spot to do it. This might just be people kind of just trying to like figure it out. Like I feel like there's a lot of that. A lot of people say like, oh, you're in the big blind and maybe you have some type of advantage, but that doesn't mean people are going to execute the strategy perfectly. Like, it looks like this feels kind of like people just maybe trying to like figure out their way, or maybe they have like a medium strength hand and don't really know what to do.
Yeah, I don't know. There's like very few 2-pair combinations.
Yeah, even for the big blind.
even like Jack 4 suited, Jack 2 suited. Those are borderline at best, and it's just like, I don't know. Yeah. It's terrible lead, and they get punished for it. Shocking.
We check the big blind with 6 deuce of hearts, and even though I have the back door, not much to do there.
Yeah, very disconnected for your back door.
Yeah. Folds to middle position, who limps, cutoff limps. We're in the small blind with ace deuce off. Philosophically, like, it is kind of like, have an ace, they're weak, I could just kind of punish them. I like to take some of my offsuit aces and play them as kind of like strong calls, as opposed to like weak raises and like being some weird spots, like getting like the deuce flop. Like, there's some implied odds with this, like, hitting trips and stuff. It's good to have these types of hands sometimes.
Plus, you need to have some ace X that's not a raise from the small blind.
Yeah, so we limp, big blind checks.
Maybe ace deuce off isn't the one to always have it be, but
Yeah, in this case, decide to limp. Flop comes 6-6 deuce with 2 diamonds, so we flop the old top 2 again. I decide to lead for half pot. Some people are kind of trying to feel their way out with this leading strategy, like I was saying.
Nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying.
Yeah, no. The big blind folds, which is obviously, I think, the biggest concern. They're the most likely to have a 6 other than me. With the flush draw being out there, there's a lot of different hands I could lead here. I can lead deuces, I can lead 6s, I can lead like flush draws and some gutters and stuff. So it's put the other people in a tough spot. Middle position calls, turns the king of diamonds. I lead. It looks like third pot. Not sure I like that. The king of diamonds. So like, if I do have those flush draws, then this is like something I'm gonna want to lead. I don't know if this is the right. I don't know. What do you think about the lead here?
So, I guess this is like a spoiler alert, but you end up betting all 3 streets here, and I don't know what hand bets the flop, turn, and river here, aside from like. So your rivered and turn full houses. Is that what you're repping, or your flush draws like?
So if I had like ace deuce off with the ace of diamonds, I think that makes some sense here.
Okay, I guess that makes sense.
But
it just doesn't feel like a logical story to end up betting on. And I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, but sorry.
So and they can see all this at the start. Like, I'm not going to be like editing it out. So they call. We'll get to the river. So the river's 19,900. The 4th diamond comes, the 7 of diamonds, and I bet small. I guess just trying to give myself a price on a bluff, get them to fold out like non-diamond hands. I don't really like the turn or the river. Looking at this now, like, I'm kind of giving a king like the fuck it price. and it ends up inducing a raise from them, and I fold. So I really don't. Looking at this now, I think it's a good time to just kind of give up on the turn.
Yeah, I guess I kind of agree with that conclusion.
Yeah, not the turn to not the hand class, and maybe if I am gonna be like bluffing or doing stuff, I guess like I would build my range around like diamonds and sixes and like maybe missed gutters that have like no equity or something, or even that might just be a give up. But yeah, gotta learn from your mistakes and your successes. So I think, and like I said, I
Yeah, it feels like it'd be better to show up with like 5-4 spades with that line than it would with ace deuce off.
Yeah,
No diamond.
I think I'm talking about other people, but I am talking about myself too. Like I am experimenting with like limping strategies or with leading strategies. This is new to a lot of people. Like, so you kind of got to learn from what works and what doesn't. I hope this is this tournament. There's another hand where I lead, where I learned a valuable lesson, and just in case it's not this tournament, I think it is, but I'll just go ahead and say, and we can come back to it later if it is. If it comes like, I think the flop was 8 deuce 3 of clubs, and I was in the big blind and I let out, and those monotone boards, like there's enough flushes and one club hands that like you don't have the same range advantage that you would have on like 8 deuce 3 rainbow or whatever. So
Wait and
bad
see.
Aaron. Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully that hand comes up. That would be sick. So there's an under the gun limp, which is always interesting. On this side, it doesn't always mean what it used to mean, but they used to kind of just be like aces or nothing in like we isolate with ace jack off in the hijack, and the under the gun calls. So the flop comes 10-6-4 rainbow, and it goes check. I did not see bet this flop. I guess this is kind of in that same like ace king, ace queen type argument a little bit, or not quite as much, but
Yeah, it's pretty similar. Aside from the other one was like 2 Broadway, right?
Yeah.
Because it was ace queen on jack 10, whatever.
it was, yeah. So
maybe I don't know these situations too well. This might be one where you get check raised more often than you would on jack 10, especially having a queen in that spot that blocks straight draws.
it's like a good mental exercise, because like you're not, especially in like, you're not, if you're playing in like even mid stakes tournaments, like I guess you see open limps in like the lower tournaments, but like it's a good exercise to like be against like hands where like, I don't know what the fuck this means, like limp under the gun and then call. It's like, how are you supposed to like, really like put somebody on a range like that? Like, yeah, I guess I'm scared of getting check raised by a 10. Like, I don't think a pair is gonna like fold. Like, we're getting to the point now where having a stack is like so valuable that I'm not just looking to like run these like random triple barrel bluffs against somebody who's like may or may not decide they're in the mood to fold.
So I think what makes it a fine check back is like, what better are you getting to fold?
Yeah, like unless they're just going to be scared and fold like 7s to 1 bet, which I don't think is going to happen. Like that, to your point, you're right. It's like,
yeah. So I can't imagine. Like, we obviously don't know the answer to that, but let's assume that they're not folding 7s.
Right. You would expect not to. Yeah.
Like maybe you could fold out 2s and 3s probably, but and that's if they even limp.
Right, and that's
those.
if they open limp that under the gun. Yeah. So
I think it's a fine check back.
the turn is an offsuit 10. Now things are getting a little interesting. They check again.
This is where you got to start betting for value. This is a value bet to me.
So
This
so I'm betting, and it's in that I definitely could say I wasn't thinking for value, but more of just equity denial. I don't know.
Well, against like I'm talking about targeting like suited aces.
Yeah, right.
In the ace.
No, that's a
in
good
the
point.
Ace 7 through ace 9 territory, and
I'm just being transparent that I wasn't like thinking
sure.
about that in the
No,
moment,
'cause, I mean,
but
yeah,
that does
obviously-
make sense. Yeah.
like I'd be lying if I said if I bet and got called, I'd be like, oh, I'm way ahead right now. And obviously it wasn't the case, but
So even though it doesn't make it like, I don't know how.
it's a protection bet too.
Right, it's protection
Against,
to deny equity, and like how many 10s
9,
do I
8
really have?
suiteds, and maybe those start bluffing, but whatever.
How many 10s do I have versus like how many 10s do they really have on a double check line? So I'm betting, I guess mostly out to deny equity.
Kevin Martin talked about this kind of board, the dry 10 high flops, and he said he does mix in some 10x as checkbacks there.
Yeah, you always want to be balanced. Like maybe I would check back like 10-9 or Jack 10, and then bet like Ace 10 or King 10 or whatever.
Yeah, the ones that can handle the check raise without a doubt.
So they call the turn, and the river is a jack. They check. I'm getting some dry mouth here. They check. And I go for the overbet. Clinton knows I love my overbets. I'm a Damo wannabe. So there's 26,000 in the pot on the river, and they have 36,000. Yeah, just feels like a bully spot. I like to, going. I've talked about this before, I think, or maybe no. Okay, it's a future video. I'm going to talk about it, but. Level 1 assumptions, like how overbets are initially taught, is that they're polar. They're the nuts or nothing. And like we've gotten to a point in poker where we're a little more sophisticated where it doesn't have to be that way. But if I'm trying to make this look like a 10 or nothing, then I'm much more likely to get hero called if I'm making it look like a bluff, then I'm much more likely to get hero called. Like if I just go for value in a standard way, betting half pot, 3/4 pot, then it sets off more alarms of like, this is value. I think by making it look like a 10 or nothing, and then this goes back to the flop check. I check back the flop, and then I bet, and now I'm going polar. Like, I think it makes it look much more like a bluff.
Yeah.
And we end up getting hero called by the old ace-queen offsuit.
It looks like you're trying to get a small pair to fold.
Right, exactly. So... yeah, that's essentially what I'm going for with the overbet, is to make it polar, so I can get hero called with a not. I don't think this falls into a polar hand. By polar, I mean like a 10 or nothing. Like I don't know if people would expect me to go overbet with a jack here.
But like you're saying, if the hands that they're calling with lose to a 10 and beat what else they assume it's going to be, a jack is essentially a 10 in that spot.
Yeah, for all intents and purposes, it is. I just don't know if people would expect it to be because
no, I mean for your shoving, for your overbets, you can shove a jack here like a 10 in terms of when you get called. Yes, there are some full houses that you're going to lose to, but your ace jack here is going to function as a 10 in terms of the hands you beat when you get hero called.
Yeah, true. So
and it wasn't a full house, so that's good.
Yeah, get the old hero call from the limped under the gun ace queen.
Limp call, check, check.
Check the big blind with 4 due to soft. Nothing really to say there.
We're 1/5 of the way through these hands. You can skip those.
Yeah. Thank you. So I min raise with ace king of hearts. The button calls, the big blind calls. So comes jack of spades, 9 of diamonds, 8 of diamonds. Not the type of board you want to be attacking with ace king. Even hitting an ace or a king, you're still in a precarious spot against all kinds of like 2 pairs and straights, and it's just not a good spot. So checks through the flop, the turn's a 3, somebody bets, and we just fold. Yeah, not the type of board ace king's looking to attack. Yeah, nothing here. Check jack 9 and fold. Pretty much anything that says I fold, I'm just gonna skip through. Clint's had enough of this already.
I'm not enjoying this. But...
yeah, no, we got shit to do tomorrow. So, raise king queen and take it down. So open. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but usually when it folds to me and I'm in the small blind, I tend to limp almost everything and play the post flop game. This particular one, I said I wasn't going to talk about this, but this is a spot where it came king 4 deuce, not a ton of like great backdoors. Having the 4 and the deuce, that's going to favor them a lot when they check back. So this is one of the rare times I give up, but something we'll see more of. Middle position raises. I re-raise to 18,000 with king 10 off. The small blind jams for 43,000. It's not a lot more. I kind of just have to side call when it folds back to me and they have 10s. And yeah, just priced in. This was a good 3-bet candidate, but the big blind or the small blind woke up with something. Here's a sexy one. I remember this one. So middle position limps, MP +1 limps. I limp the cutoff with 6s, just looking to get in there cheap, flop a set. Button calls, big blind checks. So we're 5-handed. The flop comes 7-4, 7-4-5. So we flop the open ender. So not a set, but also
about as much equity as you can flop with
but also a playable spot. So it checks to middle position +1. They bet 3/4 pot. I just call. Any merit to raising there? You think?
No.
They bet pretty big, so I mean, I feel like
there is merit to raising, but I don't think it's a. I wouldn't think of this as a raise.
Yeah, I don't really want to get like my stack in here, play like a big pot like in this particular. I feel like it's unnecessary. 6s is going to have value against a lot of stuff. And if it was a small bet, maybe it'd be different. But like they bet pretty big, it's going to put pressure on the other stacks. The turn is a queen, and they bet 24,000, which is pretty big, like 3/4 pot. I remember thinking at this point. I don't have a spade in my hand. It's 4-5 of spades on the flop, so not that it is a limp pot, so I guess that's of some concern. But I guess I just kind of thought I considered folding. Maybe this was I don't know if I'm getting like the direct odds, but I also thought I was ahead a significant enough of the time. End up making the call. The turn is the 3, and I remember this was like right before break. So the scare card comes, they check. And I just put them all in basically. Like I wanted the thinking was essentially making it look like I missed spades and like how many 6s am I really gonna have? Like pocket 6s. I guess 7-6 makes some sense, but I was trying to really make it look like a bluff here. They tank for a little bit and end up putting their stack in with the old limped aces. Dirty limp with aces.
This is such a typical online hand for how to play aces poorly. Like you start out by open limping, so you just go huge on the flop and the turn, and then everything except the flush draw gets there on the river, and they're just like
he actually was the second limper.
Oh geez,
even better. Yeah, I guess
it's so funny.
I hope he was trapping, but I mean, like I hope he was like figuring that I was gonna like bully or something. Maybe he saw how much I was doing to these like limpers. Maybe he was going for a play. Like,
because isolating an open limp was such a terrible play.
So we were talking about these limpers earlier. Maybe this is an adjustment they made. I don't know. I'm trying to give him credit here, but yeah, don't.
I wouldn't.
Yeah. So get a nice payday there. We're almost back up to 100 bigs.
I do think the turn could be a fold though.
I agree. I remember I strongly considered it, and then I just thought not having the spade. I thought there was enough other stuff in there that.
So what if the river's an offsuit deuce? Are you calling off?
If the river's an offsuit deuce,
or a 7, or a 4.
No, I don't think I'm calling off. If they jam, no.
So you're hoping for a non-spade 8 or 3 is like the only card you're calling off with?
Or, yeah, maybe probably a 6 also. Even though it's a 4-liner, I just don't put them on too many 3s or 8s. Probably taking it away trying to take it away on a spade too.
I feel like part of your logic of being ahead is that they're going to have spade draws. You're going to. I would think you're more likely to be getting.
If they check, I am in position. If they check, take it away on a spade.
That's what I mean. I think spade flushes can check that river.
I do. There are some hands where I'm kind of like, I don't really remember this one. I do remember this one. Like I was on the elliptical. I do remember thinking the turn like this is a little loose, a little gambly.
Sick brag that you were exercising while playing this tournament.
ladies, look out in 5 to 10 years. No, but I do remember thinking this was a suspect turn call, and gotta run. I mean, part of me hates to keep blaming it on this, but then the other part of it is true.
Is this a tournament where you have to finish first and second
is
nothing?
This is a tournament where, first, I may not have mentioned this before, first place is everything and second place is really nothing. So, I mean, you just kind of got to get lucky in these spots. I'm so glad you're here to roast me on this shit. Normally I have to roast myself. So we, under the gun, raised Jack 10 of diamonds. The classic, used to be my favorite hand back in the day. Middle position calls, big blind calls. Flop is Queen 4-6 rainbow without a diamond. So I remember when I was looking back on this hands, I remember this being one where I kind of wanted to talk about something a little bit, especially with solvers. It's gotten so weird, like choosing your. You good?
Yeah.
Let me know if you need me to like drive
back. Am I allowed to see if anyone's trying to get a hold of me for 1
Nobody's
minute?
trying to get a hold of you. Don't.
I have this 2 hours and 20% progress that we've made.
I told you this was going to be a time commitment.
3
Thank
to
you
4
for doing
hours.
this, by the way. Love you.
We're 2 hours in and 1/4 of the way through. That math doesn't add up, sir.
Love you, by the way. So this is it becomes really weird with selecting your candidates because, like, on the flop, you want to have the backdoor flush draw, but then on the turn, if you're going to double barrel, you don't want to have the backdoor flush draw because they fold.
You want them to have
Right, exactly. So it becomes weird selecting your candidates. So in this one, like, I blocked the queen jack, I blocked the queen 10, but then also it feels like the type of spot where I'm going to be running multi-barrel streets, so not having a spade, a heart, or a club is good. So I end up getting the perfect card to double barrel. I flop the open ender, and I bet they both call the. Sorry, that's the flop. My fault. They both call the flop. I get the perfect card. I bet 3/4 pot. They both fold. So that's why I bet the flop on this one. I decide to
spew it off with 9-4 suited.
So this is a limped pot.
This is what happens when you're a 49er fan.
Yeah, that is true. So this is limped, so I guess it's a little better than going into the pre-flop razor. So because I checked, I guess I have all the jack deuce, jack 3. I think this is a more defensible spot to go for a lead. Maybe not great, but better than theirs.
Sure.
Where I can have all the combos of the two pairs. Fuck you, dude. I quit.
It's just so nonsensical. No, I'm just kidding. It wasn't that bad.
Thank you. Raise with aces, I'm a genius. Flop top set, just real quick, like I said, I like to build pots, even though the solvers like to, with your top pairs, because you block all the top pairs.
Don't take that tone like you have disdain for the solvers.
Fuck solvers, dude. Back in the old days, we have to do our own calculations.
Well, it's a perfect hand, so you can bet with your own fruition and... Idiot.
I sure like to raise with king 10 off under the gun a lot. For making videos saying don't do that, I sure do that.
You've played king 10 off more in these 115 hands that I have in the last 5 years.
So, we have range advantage, a gutter, we bully him. Not much to say there, other than don't do that unless you're a fucking pro like me. So there's a raise. Re-raise the small blind with ace-4 of hearts. They call. See? I said. So it comes 8-5 deuce, a little more connected, and I go for the big sizing. I don't bet small. I bet bigger. I bet 3/4 pot with the not nut shot, but the gutter and the backdoor flush draw. With the over pairs, like on these type of boards, you want to bet bigger. So I bet big, and they fold. They can't see you, right? He's trying to do like a comedic face right now.
It's not comedic.
They can't fucking see you.
It's pure skepticism. It was for you alone until you brought it into this conversation.
Skepticism of what? The logic? You're saying you wouldn't bet big
No,
here?
the way you went C, like 8-5 deuce is so connected. Yeah, because it's a hugely connected hand for a 3-bet pot, 8-5 deuce.
2 hours in, dude. I'm trying to speed through this, and you have to just chime in with this fucking nonsense.
I mean, if you're going to say stupid stuff, I'm going to call you stoop.
Old Stu Magoop over here. All right, so we're a bully. So
perhaps we found the king
king
too.
deuce off. Some calls. Yeah, I guess this is why you don't open king deuce off. I bet somebody raises and we don't gamble. So we're super disciplined. Way to go, us.
It's a lot easier when you have the rabbit hunt to see what would come.
Get a walk with 2-3 offsuit. Let's analyze that for 10 minutes.
How did this happen?
Let's analyze that. All right. A raise, I call with 10-8 suited on the button, decide to bet and take it down. I got a bunch of back doors, no showdown. Yeah. Pretty standard stuff, maybe. This 10-8 suited is not standard. They limp under the gun, I bully. They call. I have 2 overs, I block the nuts, so I go for so they lead actually. They lead this board.
See, that seems like a mistake. Because it's almost like they're convoluting the concept of like being out of position in the big blind.
Right,
and what they actually did, which is limp calling a raise.
That's true. So this person actually Cali Sekmet. We're gonna have to talk about them a little later. There's the hand of the tournament involves them, and let's just say they go on a little tirade. So I float with the overs, the backdoor, and all the blockers, all the stuff, the blockers, the nutters, the backdoor,
and the actual backdoor equity.
Yeah,
a lot of equity.
Yeah, the turn's the jack.
Not
they
as much equity.
Bet again, and I call. Trying to take it away. I see what you see. Their line just doesn't make a ton of sense. I feel like this is a favorable spot for me. I like to get a little spicy with my floats sometimes. I think I can probably let this one go, but in the moment, I don't like to let people get away with this shit. They bet 3/4 pot on the river, which is the 8 of hearts. I really wanted to fucking make a move, but just everything, all the draws get there, which favors. Yeah, just don't have a ton of fold equity.
Half pot, 3/4 just feels like they got bailed out on the river.
Yeah, so make a reluctant fold. Raise 9-8 suited. Bet the flop. It doesn't work, so I give up. Not a combo.
The bad gutter.
Yeah. This one, holy shit.
Let me guess, you 3-bet the flop again?
So it folds to us on the button. We min raise. The big blind calls. We have king of diamonds, jack of clubs. It comes king 4-6, 1 club, 2 spades. They check. I bet half pot. I told you I've been experimenting with the half pot sizing, just kind of as a when you don't want to go super big, but you also don't want to price in a bunch of stuff. I don't know. Just been experimenting with it. They call from the big blind. The turn is the 3 of clubs, so there's 2 flush draws now. They check, I check. I remember kind of thinking this is like a 2 street hand. Like, I don't really want to get like check raise here because I'm in a spot where like I'm probably ahead of a lot and I have to call. But I also don't want to this isn't like a 3 street hand where I'm like excited to triple barrel and I'm gonna get paid by like a ton worse.
And it provides more clarity.
Yeah, right.
If you make the second street the river as opposed to the turn.
So I like the thinking so far. Things get super weird on the river. So the king of spades comes, bringing in the front door flush draw, giving us trips, and they min bet. They bet 3,000 into 32,000. And your boy goes for the jam. They have 87,000 behind, about 30 bigs. And I fall right into the trap and decide to jam. So there's a lot to talk about here, I feel like. So the front door flush draw gets in there. They do the min block bet, kind of. So the first time I ever saw this was at the World Series of Poker like years ago, and it was in an Omaha tournament. The guy min bet, and I had trips, and I just fucking wasn't in a good mind frame. I just hadn't seen this before. I just potted right into the nuts. These days, it's a little bit more nuanced.
Probably not on this site.
probably not on this site, but also if it is going to be on this site, it is in like this tournament. I'm unsure. In the moment, I remember thinking like this. I remember wanting more of to get like heroed, thinking like this isn't gonna look like a king a ton. This worked out in a case where I'm gonna get called by like a lot of hands that have like I'm gonna get called by flushes. I'm gonna fold out a lot of. I might even get called by a straight. I'm gonna fold out a lot of the worst shit. He had king 7 and called. I got called by like the one like type of hand that maybe they can call. I was expecting this more of like maybe he's like on the surface level, him doing that looks like your standard like, oh, I want to give myself a cheap price type thing. So I kind of took it to the next level of like making my hand look like a bluff. Wouldn't expect to do this with a king. And it kind of worked out, but not against like the hand that I thought it was going to work out against. So that was kind of my thinking there, is like kind of looking to get heroed. There isn't like by like sevens. I was more like hoping to get
just because you discounted the actual hand that called you doesn't mean the thought process behind the raise is wrong.
Yeah,
it just means maybe you forgot to consider that King X is in there.
Yeah, right.
Because there's plenty of King 2s, King 2 suited. I mean, not plenty of them when you get to the river, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
King 2 suited, King 5s can call.
I remember thinking jamming on the river and being like, this is one of the spots where I could look really
thin.
smart or really dumb. Like if I just get snap called by the flush here, then it's just like, the fuck you doing? But then also, how many people are really like, that's some pretty advanced stuff. Block min betting the river in a balanced way. I mean, they did do it with a king, to be fair to them. So I don't know. Overall,
how did it play out in real time? Did they snap? You remember?
They didn't snap. No,
okay.
They didn't snap. But they also like, there's no time extension. They also didn't like
because if they fold King 7 here, then it's a really awful raise.
This is a leveling war. Like I don't think any of us expected the other person to have like the hand they had in this line. And
but you know what I mean, though, right? Like if you're getting folds out of this hand with that shove, then it's probably not great.
Right, exactly. Yeah. If they're folding King 7, they're not calling sevens. So
yes. I think that is fucking obvious, but thank you.
Some top level stuff here. You're welcome.
You're saying trips beats 2 pairs.
Well, if they want to block the straight more, then
they're not.
I'm kidding. I'm
straight.
kidding. I'm kidding. So
King 5. Thank you.
King 5 off in the big. The cutoff raises. The button calls again. This is like worse than like the 7-5.
This is a fold.
This is clearly a fold. This is much harder to realize your equity on. But
luck box over here.
So we flop trip kings. This is one where I definitely don't want to do any leading. This is going to be like my strongest like calls.
This is the perfect hand to mix into your check calls because it looks like Jack X like 99% of the time, or obviously draws.
And they're going to be exercising their range advantage. So I want to have kings in my check calling range. So that's what happens. I check call third pot on the flop. Check on the turn. I block bet the river for a third pot, and they just fold.
You should have fired out the min one big blind bet.
And then they jam and I
for the
call.
lulz.
Yeah.
How did 40s off get involved in that hand?
Okay, so hand of the tournament here.
This is your...
I may not have mentioned this before, but only first place.
Oh my god.
Sorry. So, but that is so. Okay, here we go.
Yes, no one is arguing against the logic of coming in last is better than coming in second. Which is what you're trying to do desperately with how many 5-4 suiteds and King 10 offs we've seen.
So, Cali Sekhmet, whatever the fuck that is, middle position, 3 X's to 9,000. We're pretty deep. He has 100 big blinds. I have just under that. So deep stack play in a tournament. I'm on the button with 5-4 suited.
I just saw your line here.
Go for the 3-bet. They 4-bet tiny. So I make it 27,000. They make it 50,000.
That is a click.
That is a click. Are you just giving up there or in position 100
No way.
big blinds deep?
No.
You gotta
So
feel, right?
I think so. I would say I probably.
Like
I
once
take
I
this-
decide to
yeah.
3-bet, I can't
Yeah.
I can't just like 3-bet.
No,
full.
but I am like such a sucker for taking flops in position. And
Yeah, for
with
sure.
suited connectors, and I probably cost myself. But I think you have to for that price.
Yeah. The flop comes 8-5-6 rainbow. We have bottom pair and a gutter, and they bet half pot with so they bet 60,000 with 155 behind. And so
92 behind.
thank you. How much fold equity I jam, spoiler alert. How much fold equity I actually have here is probably like I can justify this and say, well, when they have ace king, I can get them to fold this line, and deciding for them to commit themselves on the swap, it's probably realistically almost never ace king.
No, I
Like
think
this-
ace king's pure shoves.
So I think this is almost always a pair. But then looking at it, I have 37% equity. Like I said, this is kind of similar to the ace jack hand. I just kind of
Yeah, because I mean you're never 9-9's probably not making that 4-bet. So you have to consider your straight outs are good.
yeah.
But if you showed up against 9-9, it'd be a
But
disaster.
this is almost a 200 big blind pot. This is one of those spots where if I win, I can really
Yeah.
make a run at it. He calls. The turn is the worst. Now my 2 pair outs are gone. But
Yeah, but at least now you don't have to call the turn shove after you see the board pair. Now you've already gotten the money in.
And yeah, exactly. And the river's the 7, so today was my day. Obviously, Callie goes on a fucking tirade of like, "You're known as a garbage player," blah blah blah. Like,
so
I'm not.
spewing facts.
Yeah, I'm not faulting them. Like I would probably be a little tilted too.
That is such a to drop down to like taking personal attacks on your reputation on a website. You're known as a garbage, which means one other person gave you like the thumbs down emoji one time.
Understandable, Callie. If you ever see this for some whatever reason, I'm sorry. That was brutal, but
Maybe don't 4-bet that small.
especially out of position.
Yeah, exactly.
Then a couple few minutes later, he throws an egg at me. Deserved.
I wish
I'll
they
take
showed
that
the
egg.
chat.
I know. We could show it. He kept going, and it got to a point where I wasn't like. I talked back. I wasn't saying like "fuck you, you bitch," but I was saying like, "Hey, remember that 7 on the river? That was pretty fun, wasn't it?" Like just kind of.
Oh, that's about as aggressive
twisting
as
the
you
knife,
get with shit talking.
I've had some bad days on here, but I was in a good place mentally this one, so I didn't let him have the full force. Gotta walk. Never mind. Folded to a jam. Just moving it along for my boy Clint here.
Is that why? Is there a lot of stuff to soak in those last few hands?
Min raise with the 10s. Get the call. Queen 10-4 rainbow. We flop middle set. I go for so the big blind doesn't have a ton here. I go for the min bet.
Dirt.
Yeah. They raise. There was a hand on the previous video where I talked about min betting and like inducing more, especially on boards that like this isn't a board that like fully favors them, but it's I'd say I'd put this in like the neutral-ish category. Like we both have a lot that like connects with this. So just min betting, kind of want to induce a bunch of stuff that might not normally be in there for a normal bet. They go for it. I want to keep their bluffs in, so I call, and then they jam the river for a small amount, and they have queen jack, and yeah, I mean middle set versus top pair, not a ton to say there, but I just wanted to highlight the min bet there.
Yeah, not the complete setup. Yeah, whatever.
Here we go. So this isn't the hand of the tournament. This is by far my favorite hand of the tournament, and I would like to hand this over to you. Before I say anything, I want you to to break it down, and I want to hear your thoughts on it before I say anything. So go ahead and like let them know what happens and what I got and all that stuff.
So we're in the big blind with 8-3 of diamonds. It folds to the cutoff, and you check your option.
They limp, yeah, and
They open limp from the cutoff. You check your option. Small blind folds. Looks like the flop comes ace of diamonds, 2 of diamonds, queen of clubs. So you flop a flush draw with 8-3. You opt to check, at which point they bet about 80% pot. I guess we don't need to discuss their hand yet. You check raise to a little over 4x. And what happens here? They called you with
they called all in.
Okay, I thought I was misreading that.
Yeah,
so they bet 10,000 and a 13.5 on the flop. You check raise to 43,000. They call off their remaining 30,000 with 9-8 of clubs on ace of diamonds, queen of clubs, 2 of diamonds.
Thoughts?
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Why?
Because even some of your quote-unquote semi-bluffs are going to be at beating them.
Okay, so...
And not to mention your hands that...
You're not impressed with the 50.19% equity they got there?
No, I am not impressed that they have a sliver of an advantage against an unpaired flush draw.
Okay,
and they're absolutely dead versus a ton of hands.
So So part of this, I always have to be honest, or I don't have to be, but that's kind of like my brand or whatever, like fucking honest Abe over here. But I'm gonna tell what actually happened, and then tell like my thoughts about it. So this guy limped off of like 10-ish big blinds. I just check. He checked. I jammed. This fucker. When I say snap call, I mean fucking snap calls, which tells me one of two, I think, are the most likely things.
Yeah, they're ready to go home.
Number one, in no particular order, is either like a misclick type situation or more likely, what you said. It feels just like a fuck it.
Yeah. I'm
done, whatever, I don't give a fuck type situation. They snap called. After the hand, so they win the hand, if you're listening. The runs I miss. There was a little conversation afterwards. I forget exactly what I said or what I did, but they made the comment. I said like nice, or I forget exactly what I said. But they made the comment, "I've played with you too much, LOL."
So get away from the 9
So they tried to like play it off like this was intentional. Like I'm saying all this because like I'm not like ashamed or embarrassed or like trying to like defend myself here. Like I love poker. Like I feel like this would be so fucking cool if this was like a well thought out like call. In actuality,
there's not enough time to snap call off here and have it be like 8-3 of diamonds crossed my mind.
Yeah, they didn't like run it down. They didn't like think it out. So I looked at this hand again, and what actually ends up kind of being funny is looking at it. I actually think this is, if you do think about it, I think this is I think the solvers would call here. I think this is actually a pretty good call.
The argument for whether or not they can actually be ahead some percentage of the time versus straight draws and flush draws is one thing. This being a call is not a thing.
So let me give, if I was going to, as Lex Friedman would say, steelman the argument. If I was going to make the argument, they have a 10 big blind stack and they limped. I'm a huge stack in the big blind. If I'm going to shove all my aces, all my kings, even all my queens, or like most of my queens, and then I'm checking, unblock.
Are you shoving every ace, king, and queen?
For a 10 big blind stack versus a limp? Pretty much.
That seems so exploitable.
They have a 10 big blind stack and they limped. I'm just,
But
what am I trying to play check and play post flop? Like when I can just take it down?
It just seems like an unnecessary way to punt off 10 big blinds when everything they're going to be calling you with is going to have you dominated by shoving any ace, king, and queen. Their pairs open rip.
It's 10 bigs, and
I know, but I'm saying just because something's $5 doesn't mean you should spend $5 on it. You know, it just seems like
what would you would check ace? Like if you had ace 5 suited
No,
here.
okay,
Are you going to
so
check? Or
you're misinterpreting me saying all of those are checks. But you're saying you're going to shove every ace, king, and queen? Just
maybe
because
not
they
every queen,
limp?
but every good queen. But yeah, I'm going to try and
Okay, well, every good queen's different
I'm
than
gonna
every queen.
I'm going to take my fold equity
Yeah,
equity.
I'm
and
not
then,
saying you wouldn't run it with queen 10 of clubs here.
so
but-
okay, so if I'm mostly going to raise those hands, and then I'm going to check like I have the full complement of 3-4, 3-5, 4-5, lower flush draws. Like against that range, if you're heavily
not
discounting
every
big
flush draw
hands,
is a lower flush draw.
I'm not saying this is I'm not saying you should do this. I'm saying this isn't as bad as it might
Just said
look.
I could get behind this, which means I would do it.
I think there's an argument to. I'm not saying I like saying it and then looking back on and analyzing it. This is something I think maybe I
If
can
you're
learn
getting
from.
destroyed by 2x, why are you getting your money in here?
Am I check shoving 2x here? Like if you're looking at the hands that
because
I
they're
think
good aces shove pre-flop and they're good queen shove pre-flop, so why wouldn't you? Because it's only 10 big blinds.
I don't think this is as bad as it initially looks. I'm not saying do it, but I think if that's the range you're up against, if you're heavily discounting higher cards and there's a full complement that you unblock of lower cards, of the wheel cards, then it's not as bad as it looks. In this particular case, like I said, I don't think this is what happened, and I don't think you should do this. But this is something that happened. I got looked up by
You're
9
finding
high.
a way to logically explain something that had no logic behind it. You already said you got snap called.
Right.
This is no one's going, wow, this is a perfect time to bait them with the diamond and straight draw hands that they would have shoved pre-flop. So I'm going to snap call with 9 high. Bet in position.
That hand with Ryan Reese when he called there are times where 10 high makes a logical call. I'm saying this is not as so take away what actually happened.
It's not as crazy if there's any thought applied to it. A snap call on the flop is not
Right.
them considering all of these options.
I'm taking it. I told you what really happened. I'm not trying to mislead anybody. Taking it out taking this back into theory land. If this exact same spot happened and I had 9-8 of clubs, I think it's at least worth a thought. Whether you put your last 8 big blinds in is a whole different story. But I don't think it's an auto muck. I think you should at least consider in the long run, am I actually ahead of enough and not losing to enough that maybe I should at least think about it.
I still think it's a slam dunk no, because not everyone is shoving every ace, king, and queen there.
But you're raising. But you're raising, right?
No.
So you're just like ace deuce. You're just going to check.
If your opponent is any kind of competent to be thinking about how 9 high could be ahead here, they're the same kind of competent to figure out a limping range off 10 big blinds. Okay. Game over. That's a game over.
Would you agree? You should at least consider it, even though it's 9 high. Would you at least consider
folding immediately or like after like 10 seconds? Yeah, sure. No, I'm not. No, I'm not gonna. You're just looking at a hand that happened to be like the one way they could get in ahead, and even so, this is in the perfect scenario. They have a 0.19% advantage.
Well, the perfect scenario would be if I had like 5-3 off. Then they probably are closer.
No, because then you have more pair outs and straight draws. This is when they actually block one of your pair outs. This is best case scenario.
So yeah, this is my favorite hand of the tournament, but yeah, unfortunately we can't give it the credit that maybe
you're giving it plenty of credit for both of us.
Yeah. So I got looked up by 9 high, and it was correctly. So I want a full investigation by Club
Even
GG.
you saying it was correctly is annoying because it's not correctly. It was right. It was.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Successful.
I'm sorry. It wasn't correct. It
was
was right. I'm sorry. My fault. Hey, we're getting there. We're almost halfway there.
Oh wow! And it's only been 3 hours.
Living on a prayer, dude.
75% of the allotted time for the whole thing.
Well, good thing I wasn't late or anything. Otherwise, this would start to be.
I'm just shocked he didn't blame it on me making food for 4 minutes.
I love you, buddy. Raise with ace 5, get some action from the blinds, small bet and take it down. don't think we need to spend a ton there.
You keep saying this, but you're the one spending the time on it.
Looks like I called 8-5 off in the big blind.
No, but here, let me show you how I can get behind this.
Well, you see, it only pays the top, post-flop play, blah, blah,
Because
blah.
we know they
the
don't have
rest.
pocket eights or pocket fives because they shove all in, so we know our two pair outs are good. I can get behind this. Idiot.
So we limp. It folds to us. We limp 6-5 suited in the small blind. They go for the raise, and we bump that shit up. Give them the old limp re-raise. They call.
And you get bailed
Clint's
out
fucking
immediately.
jealous of my fucking...
You get bailed out immediately.
Clint's jealous of my superior play and timing.
Yeah.
We flop the nuts.
I love how you managed to put in, what is this, about 12 big blinds with 6 high, and you actually flop the
So
nuts and
look
you don't
how-
get
look
a
at-
penny more afterwards.
Would you... So, jokes aside, once you get to this spot, would you check this flop? Or,
Probably.
you know, like, so... I think my thinking, and I went for a half pot sizing here after flopping the nuts. My thinking was the primary hand class that you would expect to do this with, would be like the big aces. And like having the overcards, having the gut shot, I feel like they don't want to check. I feel like ace king, ace queen, ace jack suited or whatever.
But if you're not getting 6x to fold in that kind of thought process, your gut shot's no good. If you're thinking about this from an ace high approach.
I just mean like from an equity denial perspective, like I'm gonna want to bet a lot, like maybe check like kings or aces.
This seems like a perfect hand to try to rep like ace jack, ace queen that went for a limp re-raise and didn't know, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You flop the stone cold nuts with a backdoor flush draw, and you just half potted your way to a.
We also are really deep, so this kind of goes into that like wanting to build a pot if they do have a pair type thing. I guess is my like primary.
I don't know if half pot's the way to do that.
You're saying bet smaller.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or check.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely open to the
Betting
fact
small
that
and checking seem like the easiest way to build a pot.
Yeah. Yeah, I can get behind that.
Because I don't know, like I feel like the half pot size is supposed to be like a lot of 9-9, 10-10, and I just don't think your bluffs. Well, I don't know.
At the end of the day, there's no like terrible way to play the nuts. I mean, we're nitpicking a bit here, but if you're looking at it,
Looks like there is a terrible way to play it, and you found it.
I mean, this guy probably just had like king queen or something, was gonna fold no matter what. But I don't think sevens or eights are calling a third pot and folding to half pot. You know what I mean? Like,
So you're targeting overpairs?
yeah, I'm building a pot against overpairs with a hand that they're not gonna expect me to have. So jealous of my genius, dude.
Yeah.
Just can't even fucking
You
comprehend
put
it.
in 12 big blinds behind, and you flopped the nuts, and you just pushed them right off the hand. That was genius indeed.
So I'm in raise, they jam small, I gamble with queen jack, and they flop a boat. So get to check my option and check it down in river top pair. That's always nice.
Completed with 8-4 off.
Completed
Beautiful.
with 8-4 off. So this is more of like a spot. Like it's they just check pre-flop. So it's an ace high board. There's only one lower card like a deuce that I can put a lot of pressure on. I min bet, they call, I turn a gutter and a bad flush draw, and I bet pretty big and they fold. I've had a lot of success with this line with min betting and then betting big on the turn. So this is an example of
WP, GG.
TY.
Hilton?
Raise, take it down. So I defend queen 6 off in a heads up pot versus late position. Now we're actually getting to times where you want to do it. Flop middle pair. I have queen 6 off. It comes king, queen, 5 rainbow. I check call. Looks like a little more than two bigs, a little more than a third pot. Turns the 3 of diamonds, bringing in a backdoor flush draw. I check. They bet big. They bet 36K into 56K. I don't think I can fold quite yet. A lot of draws out there. I unblock the diamonds. I unblock like the jack 10s, jack 9s, type hands. Call, and then the river comes the 5 of diamonds, and I block bet 33K into 128K. They run their time down pretty far and end up folding.
I do love the logic of I unblock all the flush draws. The flush draw gets there, I'm going to lead.
Well, there's a whole range involved here.
I know, it's just funny when you say it like that, and then you lead the card of one of the first list group of hands that you say you're beating.
But because of that, I feel like block betting is better than giving them the chance to rep that card. Like if they...
You might have gotten better to fold here, which is crazy.
For that size, I don't know if they... I mean, maybe a weak queen. Like, I don't know if they ever fold a king here. Like, if they have, like, queen 10, maybe they fold. But, I mean, even that's hard, maybe.
So what do you think they're considering the ace-high lookup here with, like, ace-jack, jack of diamonds?
I mean, it is. Like, the 5 gets there, which is a small consideration. But, and the diamonds get there. I mean, yeah. I don't know. It's an interesting one. The block bet's fucking sick, and this is an example of why. So many hands in this. So many hands. Okay. So we raise the hijack with jack 7 of clubs. The button calls. The big blind calls. Comes queen 4-3, the 4-3 of clubs. So we flop a flush draw. The big blind checks. We bet. The button raises small. So it looks like a min raise. I think I just call. The big blind folds and I just call. I think it could be a spot for a 3-bet. But also getting a price, even though I am out of position, but getting a price just kind of looks like a spot to peel, try and bink.
Yeah.
So the turn is a 7, so we make second pair. I check. They bet. They min bet. So
top tier talent
yeah.
poker player we've got here.
I got showdown value at this point. Still have the equity. I just call. The river, I think, is pretty interesting. The river's a 9. I block bet again, just trying to... If they have a queen, I want them to just call as opposed to bet like a larger sizing. I bet 36K into 114K, and they min raise. So you can see I took my timer down pretty far. The main thing I'll say here, like, I think part of the growth of like a poker player and as a human is like this is one of those spots in poker where it's like the math or the psychology. Like it feels gross to call here. It's like who's ever bluffing on a min raise in a spot like this? Like what am I really beating? But then on the other hand, like I'm getting like 6-1 or something like that. Like when do you let like your logic take over? Like this, I took this down. Like this was just gross. I felt like I had to call, but then I also felt like what am I beating? Ultimately, I just decided this was just too much of a price, and this is a spot where I was just like, I'm probably beat here, but the price is too good, and I just flung it in, and they had the ace 10 of diamonds, and I won. But that's part of like the growth of like life and stuff is like when do you rely on your training, and when do you rely on like what you feel is like right. And this was just one spot where like I really didn't think I was good here, but I kind of just relied on the math. It was just like, I really don't have to be good here that often.
No.
So, like,
and it's not crippling when you're wrong.
Right, that too. So flung it in, and it worked out this time. So hooray!
Just a terrible line at the other person.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. Yeah,
once you see the min bet on the turn, you know you're not dealing with it.
Yeah, those weird lines. Also, once you're getting a price, like it doesn't have to be something strange too often. Min raise 9-8 suited under the gun, get some calls. I barrel, unblock all the draws and take it down. Jam ace queen versus a raise, take that down. Jacks I re-raise, take it down. Raise, I bet they jam. Nothing really to say there. Ace 6, I raise, they call, I flop 2 pair, just try and build a pot. What?
Top 2?
Top 2 pair, thank you. Yeah.
It can't all be queen 4 when you have...
This one I kind of remember. I raised Jack 8 suited. Middle position calls, big blind calls. It's an ace, 2 aces and a deuce on the flop. I have a backdoor flush draw. I just kind of try and take it down. I bet small. The turn's a queen. They check. I use my range advantage. And then I don't know how much showdown value I actually have, but at least I think this is a good give up by me.
Yeah.
This wasn't I hit a pair, now I have showdown value. This is more of just I may have quote unquote range advantage, but no aces are folding. So
This is one of the... Phil Galfond was talking about, just because it's one of the worst hands you show up with on the river doesn't mean it's a good bluff.
Right. Yeah. You can't take every single spot. Yeah.
Obviously, this wouldn't be one of the worst, but
It
it's
is
pretty low.
Yeah, it is the big blind and whatever, and like
And
I could get a queen to fold or whatever,
Yeah.
but I'm never getting an ace to fold.
You're pretty sure you're never gonna win on the showdown, but it also doesn't mean that's a bluff candidate.
Right. Yeah. So I like the give up here.
Thankfully that you hit the jack on the river.
I
I know you're not
yeah,
probably taking that line anyways,
yeah.
but at least it makes it easy to
It-
shut down.
It does, and then the off chance I'm against like tens or
Sevens.
nines or something,
Yeah.
or so like at least I have something, Like that wasn't what I was banking on. It was primarily a give up, but yeah, it didn't hurt. It didn't hurt in the argument to give up. Yeah, not much to say there. Having fun so far?
This has been my favorite part of the video. This stretch of folds.
He loves me. Looks like I get it in against a short stack. Fucking.
Yeehaw.
Raise. Got it through with sevens on King 9-4 in a multi-way pot. That always feels good. Just bet half pot and I don't know. Yeah. So this is. At least hitting the sevens is clean. Like if it's better to do it in a spot like this where both of my sevens come and it like doesn't complete any straight draws, doesn't complete any flush draws. I guess it's better to use my leverage, and this is part of like
it's not King 9-8.
right. Yeah, that would be way worse. And like then I hit my 7 and reverse implied odd against Jack 10, but
And
like
there's 3 straight draws or three combos of
yeah.
straights out there.
So I'm using my big stack here and get it through it. It's always nice to help pad your stack in that way. Me being a bully. People are gonna think you're having the most miserable time right now, just hearing all these like yawns in the background. I love it. He's happy and he loves me. So just know that, viewers. Raise, take it down. Yeah, paired board. Even though I have some backdoors or whatever, still just gotta attack those spots pretty heavy. I think.
Seems pretty standard.
Yeah.
The open included.
Here's a nice one. Raise with the old 10-8 suited again. Button calls, small blind calls. It's a super. I mean, it could be wetter if there was a flush draw, but Jack 10-8 hit bottom 2. I bet big. The button calls. And then I overbet pretty big, 270K on the turn. The turn's the 5 of spades, so no additional hands get there. And I overbet.
Oh, that's a huge pot.
Yeah, I overbet. They call with ace jack, and we hold. So that was a monster pot. Yeah, unblocking all the top pairs and all the draws and stuff. Just really want to build that pot and get it in there. Not a ton strategy wise to talk about besides that. Nice hold.
How many people are left at this point? Do you remember?
We're getting up there, but no, I don't remember. I don't think it says either, unfortunately. Limp the small blind when it folds to me, and I had a triple barrel. Did the one big blind bet on with 3-4 off on King 8-6 of diamonds. Bet big on the turn on the ace. They call, and then the river is a 5 total brick, and there's 166,000 in the pot, and I overbet 263,000. pretty much trying to get all the one pair hands and all the one diamond hands, to fold. Just
Fighting for every pot.
Yep, big stack bully. I think if I'm gonna take that line, I like the overbet on the river. And gotta swing some dick. Min raise aces, the big blind calls. They lead into me as 10-8 deuce. They just lead into me, and then
God, we've seen that line so
Yeah.
many times.
they have the top pair, and then they shove the turn, and I just let them keep bluffing on the flop.
I think
They
there's
have
been a
bluff.
pair of tens in every one of those. Like starting from the first hand, it was like middle pair of tens. The next one, it was like middle pair of tens again.
People we're figuring out our way. Raise, take it down with top pair, fucking genius. See some folds. Raise with deuces, the cutoff calls, the big blind calls. It goes check, check, check. The turn is on Jack 4-3. The turn is an 8. Checks again. I decided to try and take it down. I stab small. The cutoff calls. The river's an ace, and I bet pretty big. I thought I was like the most likely one to have an ace, but I end up getting looked up by ace queen.
As much as it probably seems passive, I still think the turn's a check.
Think the turn's a check probably.
Yeah, I think it's a check and fold if you see any.
Yeah, I can. I've said it a million times. I can throw everything under the big stack umbrella, but
Yeah.
I think logically and strategically, I think you're probably right. That sounds right.
And this is me saying that, looking at the fact that you're actually ahead versus the hand that called you. I
Right,
still think
yeah.
it's probably a check fold.
Yeah, probably not the lots
But
of other.
Not a big mistake. Just some thoughts.
Do you think once the ace comes that I have to rep that, or do you think that too?
That I don't mind. I mean, yeah, there's ace X of clubs out there still, but there's probably not too many two pairs because I don't think ace jack plays that way. Ace 8 is probably not calling that. Ace wheels are either 3-betting or folding.
Yeah,
like the 3s and 4s. I mean, so yeah, I think it's fine.
Yeah, it's pretty much just trying to get non-ace one pair hands to fold. But yeah, I think you're probably right. I think probably best to just give up on the turn.
It's just the most obvious bluff card in the deck is the only thing.
Yeah,
but
that
shouldn't be the reason why you don't bluff it.
Yeah, raise king queen and just being a bully again. Just turned a little bit of equity and just decided to go for it. Yeah, I put them all in on the turn, so I was very happy to get that fold. It's I'm not blocking their folding range. Like they're not going to have ace king and ace queen a ton, so this was just kind of fortunate to get through. Maybe a bit too loose, but they shoved. I think this was something like 6 bigs or something. I had Jack 10 suited in the big blind, so I just gambled and got there. I don't think anything too crazy there. Like you're likely behind, but also have a ton of equity. Yeah.
You just got to run that.
Yeah.
So let's see, you're at 1.6 and the blinds are 10 and 20K. Nice.
Yeah.
82 bigs.
Cruising along. Yeah. Looks like a lead worked out for them. I'm getting a little spicy. I raised the Jack 3 suited, being the big stack bully. So I talked about this in the last one. It comes the ace high board, and they just fucking lead into me.
Now that is a thing that I'm seeing more often too. I think we actually talked about.
We did. I see it so much here on GG, and
but the ace high board, to me, yes, there's a severe nut disadvantage if you just want to break down who can have ace ace, but at least
and ace king and ace queen.
Yeah, but at least it's going to be top pair no matter what. You know what I mean? It's not like a 10 high board where there's like a zillion different turn cards that completely change the outlook of your hand by leading it. Like it's an ace high board now. It's not going to get higher than that.
But if you have an ace, you want me to barrel with Jack 3. It's like leading is like.
Or this is a way to bet with draws and also with top and bottom pairs and stuff.
This is fucking terrible. Don't do this.
It's better than doing it on the 10 high boards into the pre-flop razor.
I'm not sure it is.
Well, when do you want to see the main
Let's
event?
fucking
Tell me.
Let's talk about this for another 2 hours because you have no shit to do.
be so miserable at work tonight.
Thanks again for
Not
doing this, by the
texting
way.
you once tonight. That's not a punishment.
There's a limp. I have Jack 8, flop the double gutter, and I check raise and then barrel and get the fold. So running good in multiple different ways, getting my barrels through. Looks like I raise the button and bet a dry board and then give up. So go me. This one, fuck. Holy shit. Okay. So there's a limp. This guy limps in early/middle position. I make it, what is that, like pot, I guess, like 5-ish X with king 8 of clubs, and he calls. The flop is king 6 deuce with 2 hearts and a club, so I have top pair, weak kicker, and a backdoor flush draw, and he just open leads for fucking 3/4 pot, 237K into 316K.
Just so bad.
Just so bad in so many ways. I call, then I'm not gonna lie, so the turn's the deuce of spades. I get a little nervous. He bets huge, so he bets 593K. So this is a big spot.
Basically a shove.
Yeah, it's basically a shove. He has a couple 100K behind. I run my timer down a little bit. It's just one of those nerve-wracking spots. It's like, this doesn't make a ton of sense, but then also I have a weak king. It's like, you know, we saw a guy limp earlier with like ace queen. Like, he can have like king queen or king jack theoretically here, but this guy was, you know, just playing crazy. And I remember Greg was in the room with me, and I just remember, you know, saying like, I think I just kind of have to go for it here. And yeah, I shove for what little he had left, and he had pocket nines. Get a fucking monster hold. I mean, yeah. I mean, this is like the type of shit we're dealing with here. But this was a critical pot, and I just remember being nervous about it. But I feel like this is a spot I have to against this like line.
This feels like someone who just doesn't want to check and has no idea where they're at, but they just feel like checking is worse than betting. It's just such a limp call pre-flop,
and then a lead into it.
Just the lead is just so.
All they had to do is re-raise,
just jam,
and I fold pre-flop. I mean, yeah. So huge spot for me. Big hold. Things are starting to get real at this point. Now I got like a fat lead, you know, like I got over 100 big blinds again. I mean, shit's getting real. Looks like I defend, and then
this might be the final 6, huh?
We're getting there. We're not there yet. I don't see somebody that I know is at the final table. So I defend. I flop bottom pair with 9. I have 9-7, and it comes queen jack 9. I check. He bets half pot. It just looked like he had a relatively big stack. It looked like a spot to like put some pressure. I raised small, and he jammed. So it's an easy fold, but I didn't want to. Like, calling sucks. I flopped a pair. I think it could just be a fold, but I just decided to put a little pressure, see if I can get. There's a bunch of like ace high, king high hands that I think I can get to fold. There's obviously a lot of hands that have me beat, and I'm probably going to find out from those. I was going to give up if they called, but got a stack, got to use it. Yeah. Not much there. Didn't feel like gambling. I raised, button called. I bet with flush draw and a gutter. They fold. It's always nice, you know, just check 8-3 off, and I did a min in the big blind, and I check and they fold. So it's always nice to get those through. I wasn't involved in that one. So this is, I think, one of the more interesting spots in all of the tournament. So I open ace 4 off in the cutoff. The big blind calls, and it comes 3, 5, 6 with 2 clubs. So I flop an open ender. However, this is one of those clear advantage to the big blind spots. They haven't watched any of those videos, so they don't lead. They check. I think this is actually, like I was saying earlier, this is one of those combos. like most of the time I'm gonna want to check this board. Like I'm gonna check a lot of like overpairs here, but I think this is one of the few combos that can like consider betting.
So it depends on if you're talking like if you're just speaking strictly from your hand, because I think your range, this is a perfect hand to include in your checkbacks.
So do I ever like what hands do I want to bet here? Like 7-8 of clubs types hands, or like there's even that? Are you just checking
flush draws?
I definitely
Sets.
mix with some overpairs, sets. Yeah, it's sets. I definitely want to bet. Yeah, I did end up.
And you can mix overpairs too.
Yeah, for sure. I did end up checking. I think I decided against a big blind range. I do have enough showdown value with ace high, and I don't want to get like blown off my equity.
And you're very hidden when the 4-liner comes. You know, it's like the most important.
Right. That is what happens. The turn is the 7, so I get the straight. He leads into me. I did consider raising, but I also like 9-8 can be in this range. I also don't want to like if I play for stacks, he had, a fair amount behind, like he has half my stack.
It's not only that you lose the 9-8, you lose the 8-4.
Lose the 8-4, I'm chopping with 4s, and like I'm not going to, if I'm playing a big pot, it's not going to be against like 2 pairs and sets and stuff. So I like the call.
And it gives you a reasonable chance to seem like you still have an ace high kind of hand.
Right,
like
right.
Ace 8s, ace 9s that...
Right.
Maybe he's hoping to check to on the river more often than not. But anyways,
it keeps my range wide. The river is a 5, pairs the board, which is a terrible card. And then he kind of like he leads again, but it's small. He block bets 58k into 258k. So I remember being super grossed out by this spot. I don't know if you agree with me, but I felt like, so if I raised to 341,000, and I just remember thinking, I'm going to puke so fucking hard if he jams. Like, still has a bunch behind. Like, I made it 300K. Like, so first of all, do you even think this is a raise on the river?
No. Not versus that stack.
Versus that stack, you don't think?
No, because if he's a sicko, man, and he is capable of
it's such a gross spot if he is, but you don't think it's...
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to see it from either of those stacks, really. But
so you just flat
it
call
feels
here.
thin at that point. It feels very thin to go for a raise with ace 4.
I felt like it was a spot, and like as played, like I said, I felt like this was like too high up in my range to just, it just felt too nitty to just call to a tiny bet. Like I felt like there was enough there. It's so gross if they raise, because it's one of those spots. There's a lot that I lose to or chop with, but then there's also a lot that I felt like I could get value from. Like I kind of...
What are you getting called by?
Like I guess heroed by like a 5 or like by like 8-7 or something. Like it. I guess maybe.
What 5s are betting that turn?
Yeah, I guess they all either make both. Yeah, I guess so. I guess you're right. I guess this is probably just a call on the river.
I feel like their one pair hands would take a super aggressive size, like 3/4.
I guess I just thought like that. At the time, I was thinking that I'm so unlikely to have a 4. Just that it.
Yeah. In that case, yeah. But I think that all is well and good if the river doesn't pair.
Yeah, I agree.
It seems really thin in the river pairs with that board versus the big blind.
In the moment, I knew if I guess like the old Bart Hansen, like I guess I planned on like raise folding, which looking back now and hearing you talk about it, I don't think that's correct. I think calling obviously significantly minimizes my risk, and then like with the king hand earlier, I think like the sliver of hands that I can get value from is so small.
This feels thinner than that, oddly enough.
Yeah. Looking back, I think this was a big misplay on my part. I think this is just a call on the river, and like, if the river's like a deuce or whatever, then I think raising is. Do you still raise if the river's like a king?
Yeah, that's what I mean. The board pairing on the river is the whole reason I'm not talking about raising here. If you're up against those other hands, raise folding is way more viable, and it's like the hands he's shoving are so narrow too. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
So
what if he goes crazy and turns like 8-5 into
yeah, that's the part of it that really sucks.
because he knows you're gonna fold the 4 and you block 9-8 and he blocks.
I might have gotten quote unquote like GG'd here. Like I think I probably like now we're getting to the point of the tournament where I need to start giving people credit for that. Like I probably just thought.
Yeah.
Not enough people are gonna like be sick enough to turn 8-5.
Like they're gonna show up with like 10-7 of diamonds or something.
Right. Yeah. So.
But yeah, like even a hand like 7-6, if he just decides to just blocking all boats, just jam it in your face, like you're whatever you miss in value by flat calling, you don't open yourself up to losing such a massive pot when you put in that pretty hefty river raise.
Yeah.
It looks like you just click pot. Am I wrong?
158.
No.
Yeah, maybe.
A little less than pot.
150 plus, yeah, it's a little less than pot.
But but see, like, whatever you're losing out on value there, you're still winning a 300k pot by not
exposing my stack.
I honestly don't think you're getting called there ever.
Yeah,
so
looking
if you're
back,
getting raised or folding, it's like why are you raising that?
I think if I'm getting called, I think the worst hand that I'm getting called with is like a 4.
Yeah,
so
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
No, so then that opens up a new discussion if you think you can get someone off of 4, but I don't think that was the goal of the raise. So.
Definitely was not the goal. I think in my head I just way over. I was thinking too much about it being right by under repping. I thought like this was just too high up in my range and that I would never get credit for a 4 here, and but I just didn't. Yeah, and then just with it being this connected and all the connectors that can like have me beat, I think the risk reward ratio is way out of line here. So
like raising like 9-8 on the river is way different than even raising.
Yeah,
if you ever have 8-4 suited, is way different. Than
being able to get paid by a 4 is significantly
different
than chopping with a 4. I agree. So interesting hand. I think so far this is probably the biggest misplay I would say so far. This is also a nitpick. It's not awful misplay. I think raising is a pretty bad exposing. Well, I think that's a pretty bad raise there. Like, I'm not saying I hate myself and I suck. I'm just saying I think so far this is like the biggest misplay of the tournament.
Well, I mean,
like,
some could say open jamming 30 bigs with 5-4 suited isn't the.
There's something I haven't mentioned yet.
Oh my God! Kill us all now. He's gonna tell us about how there's only one spot paid.
Oh man, good times, good fun had by all. This is one I guess I tried to get cute here. Jack 9 off, even in a multi-way pod, could fold it, but it's not as bad. It goes check on a 5-5-4 flop. The 3 comes and that it checks. I decide to lead and he shoves. I bet 100k and he shoves for 204 more, or sorry, for 103 more. And I was just like, "You're ahead. Fuck it, whatever I have to call." And he had Ace King. That's a sexy little get in by him, but fuck it. Here was a fun one. I min raise queens. The blinds defend. It comes 9-9-7. Small blind checks. The big blind just open jams. He was getting a little short. It was 240,000. This was a 6 bigs. It's a button range. I'm gonna have a ton of like over cards. Like
it's just there is better spots than this.
Yeah, for sure.
It's bad.
It's bad. I call. He had 5-3.
Ace highs are calling here.
Ace high. So
you could have Jack 10, 10, 8.
The small blind
6,
was
6,
still
5.
behind me, so it puts a little bit of pressure on Ace high. But Ace high is probably still calling here. I'm trying to give little courtesy.
Sure,
I'm trying to give courtesy kids some courtesy. Here.
I was gonna say.
So,
you don't want to hurt their feelings.
Yeah. So nice little chip up there. Now we're back in bully mode. Get a fortunate chop here. The small blind limped, and I shoved the big blind with Ace 9 off, and they called with Ace 10, and we get a fortunate chop. Wasn't for like a massive pot, but still nice. Made it to hand 300.
It almost looked like someone limped in with a strong ace and 10 big blinds. Gee, what do you know? Next.
Because from the small blind is a little different.
Oh, yes.
So this person got me good. I know we talked about this earlier. Like so now this might. I don't know if this is the final table yet, but now the play is starting to advance. I talked about earlier about how many people are really double checking and check raising, whatever. So I min raise ace jack off on the button. The big blind calls. It comes queen jack deuce. So I have middle pair, top kicker, standard primary like check back candidate, like two, not trying to like get a ton of value, but want to pot control. I check it back. The turn's a 3 that brings in a backdoor flush draw. They check again. I bet 161K into 215K for value at this point, and they shove 5 for 520K. Well played by them. They had queen 9 for top pair. There's a lot of draws and stuff that I unblock and that they could have, so I just was like, how many times is this check shove really a queen? They played it very well, and they hold. So quality of play is starting to improve, at this point.
This would have been a dirt double check by you, but yeah.
It would have been. I thought it was, too strong to double check at this point.
I feel like if the turn's like 8s, 9s, 10s, that's where you kind of. But.
See, that's when I feel like I check more because I open myself up to like more. There's more semi bluff and like 2-pair hands that like they can check raise. Then I feel like I want to pot control more.
Well, you have more. I mean, there's probably an equal distribution of nuts when the turn's a 10, 9, or an 8, and you have the advantage with ace king. You can check back king 10 on this flop so you don't get blown off by a queen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what I'm saying, it's just this is hindsight. It would just be a dirt check on the turn too, because there's really nothing you're worried about.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's one of those spots where it's probably close both ways. Yeah,
it's going to either be the turn or the river.
Yeah, for sure. That makes sense.
And they owned you again, it looks like.
They did own me again. I don't think I was on tilt or anything. I opened Jack 10 off. That same person, the small blind calls.
Jesus, tilt much?
Ace Jack 3. They check. I bet pretty big.
But that seems standard.
Betting middle pair on an ace high board.
No, attacking an ace high board versus small blind, where they're gonna.
I think it's more standard when I don't have the pair. But
that's probably true.
Yeah. They call. The turn's a 7 of diamonds. It goes check. River's the 4 of diamonds. They bet 300,000, which is a little under half pot. I tank it down for a while. Decide to call. Hearts miss. I block like the gutters and stuff. I don't know. It's like so at this point, like I said, I'm starting to. This is like a thinking player, so maybe there's more stuff. I don't know. I don't love this one, honestly. But maybe I was on a little tilt. Who knows? Definitely not me. How would I know?
It could just be a case of needing to find a little discipline on the river. And tapping the table if they show up with a bluff.
Fuck you, dude. Why are you here to make me look bad, man? I paid you to fucking make me look like a genius. No, I'm just kidding.
Hasn't cleared yet.
So I remember this one. So it was a 4x open under the gun off of... They had less than 10 bigs, so they didn't shove. And then the small blind calls... I decided to call with queen jack off, just kind of thinking if I hit, it's a nice little pot.
It feels kind of like you could just rip this in pre. Where's it? What stack am I looking at? Kill
the small blind and then the big blind. Yeah. So I thought, because I didn't think they only had 10 bigs to start the hand. They're not gonna fold. I wasn't like anxious.
You're not doing terrible against calls though.
Yeah, no, your point's taken. I guess I just like if they jam, I'm folding. And under the gun for 10 bigs. It just felt like a spot to where I could hit and
yeah.
Anyway, I end up hitting the queen. Check to the under the gun. They go all in and win a nice little pot with top pair versus 8s.
Top 2 on the river.
Yee. Raise ace king under the gun. Small blind just calls. I do have the king of hearts on jack 8 deuce with 2 hearts, but again, the whole ace king thing, I don't want to always check ace king, but I do tend to prefer it.
Where's your see? This one's more connected. See, jack 8 deuce. See. Oh, I checked it. What do you know?
The turns of 4 spades.
Donkey.
And they bet pretty big.
God, I can't wait to hear that back of you going, see. That is the kind of thing normally I do, and you make fun of me for like the next 8 months.
I've never once made fun of you in my life. So this is a disconnected turn, and there's 2 flush draws, and I've underread my hand. So even though they bet big, this feels like one where I have to call. The river's a jack, and they bet 200K into 600K. Same type of logic. A lot of shit missed. Like, obviously, I'm paying off a jack here, which is what they had. They had ace jack, but I don't mind the call here with ace king high once I check back flop. Like, a lot of queen 10, 10, 9 type hands are going to try and, like, blow me off. He said, blow me off. Good time to mention this show is sponsored by Beavis and Butthead, which airs after South Park on Comedy Central.
Is it a good time to mention that?
They don't really sponsor us. Calm down. Monster fucking hold here. There's not much to talk about strategy-wise, but this was an intense one. Under the gun raises. We re-raise kings and get it in against ace-king suited. Monster fucking hold. Fucking love to see it. Wonder if this is the final table.
It has to be.
Still 100 hands left, yeah.
Oh, is that it?
He's thrilled to be here, folks. He's having a good time.
Having a good time.
Having a good time. Limped. The small blind with jack 5 suited. Bet my 1 big with top pair. Turns the 9 of hearts. I check it. River 2 pair. Get the fold. Not a ton to talk about there.
Wow, you've really mastered having a hand that would love some value and just blowing people out of the water. Just kidding. I just wanted to make fun of you for that.
See. He limps the small blind. This guy limps the small blind, and I have king 8. I shove and he folds.
It's not gonna make
my
sense.
Weak king highs. My weak king highs at 10 bigs. Just wanted to fold and take it down.
Middle of the road king high.
See.
Wow. It's not going to make any sense because you're going to delete that first one because you sounded like such a little bitch.
Do you see?
You're insufferable.
He brings out the best and the worst in me. I'm sorry, folks. See? No, I'm just kidding. Limp the small blind with 4-5 gutter. Or no, sorry, open ender. Take it down. Masterfully played.
Gutter.
Masterfully played. Yeah, this has to be the final table.
It's going to be a short heads up, I can tell you that.
Bully with ace high.
See?
Such
a bitch.
Whoa, there's kids watching, man. Tone down the
Bleep
language. Yep. Not anything strategic here, but I had the 4-9 of hearts, and I always try and play that because I love the 49ers. But in the last one, I did the discipline fold, but I was happy that I got to play it and take it down, so go 49ers.
You only fired 1 street with 0 equity.
Flop bottom pair, thank you very much.
And the one I'm talking about?
Nope.
No. The 9-4 diamonds, or whatever that one was, you had no shot.
Starting to turn on the run good here. A guy re-raises. I jam with king 10 off to take it down. He calls with king queen, and we flop a 10 and hold. These are, short stack situations, but still, like, getting these holds is a nice.
When you think about the fact that only one person gets paid here, it's. Have you mentioned that yet? Next.
See. All right.
Boy, that really got to you. That one bothered you.
I just canceled the whole thing. This was just another one where I was being a bully and fortunate to take it down.
Wow,
probably not the best.
Ace.
Yeah. I don't think they called, though.
No.
Yeah, no, they didn't. Yeah, they didn't.
That's why the hand stops on the flop.
No, but I mean, I don't think he was in the hand. like he showed that he would have had an ace because it's so that he pulled the U. He's like he wanted to be involved, you know, like he wanted to be relevant in the discussion. Like, oh, I would have had an ace, fellas.
Well, he did have an ace. He would have made a pair if that's what you're saying.
Take it down with ace queen.
Oh wait, I guess you were at the final table because it filled up after you knocked out that person with king.
So now this has to be the final table. Yep, I recognize that guy. Okay, so
you were
final
gonna
table.
say that no matter who it was.
Man, you sure are tedious with your commentary.
They can't see
sometimes.
your point. This is a.
You're quite the poker joker. All right, sorry.
No, please take your time. We only have 60 more hands to go.
Raise under the gun with Jack 10, flop top pair. Just get it in against second pair because we're fucking brilliant.
Surprised they didn't lead into you, given that they had second pair like everyone else in this tournament.
Yeah. And top pair holds against second pair, and we're geniuses. Turning on the aggression here. Raise king jack suited. It's a paired board. Bet and take it down. Aces.
Finally, we have a big pair. Oh, I guess you had kings a minute ago.
Aces, and we min raise. They get the call. We flop over pair with the nut flush draw. Feels good. They check. We bet. Third pot. They call. Check. I bet big, and they fold. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, just trying to build a big pot. Not going to play that 49ers. Limp at the final table. Way to go. Check the big blind and flop top pair.
That's ace 10 if I've ever seen it.
I lead out. They call. I turn an open ender and I put them in. They fold. So I did look this one up without ICM involved, and I don't know how much you want to factor ICM in this type of format. Jack 3 suited here it folds to us, and I shove Jack 3 suited, just trying to press my edge as a chip leader.
Yeah, it's 12 bigs. Easy.
It's actually the Jack Deuce suited is actually a fold. I looked this one up earlier.
Well, we don't have Jack Deuce suited, do we? We have Jack 3 suited, don't we?
Yeah, so nothing else to talk about. Standard, and I'm a fucking genius. So they had Queen Jack, and first bit of adversity at the final table. It's not all smooth sailing all the time, but you gotta fight through adversity. Am I right? Thank you. So I lost the chip lead on this hand. I raised, what do you know, King 10 off under the gun. Like, I feel like the percentage of people that actually listen to this all the way through is so small. But if you have made it this far, then yeah, maybe you should listen to all the poker people and not do this. But I am the big stack, you know, it's final table, blah blah blah. I min raise king 10 off under the gun, cut off calls, button calls, big blind calls. We flop middle pair, queen 10-8 with 2 clubs. We don't have a club. Checks to me. I decided to bet, just, I don't know, in a multi-way pot. I didn't want to let too many people in, wanted a little more clarity on the hand. The cutoff calls, the big blind calls. The turn is the 4 of clubs. It checks through, which leads to the river. So I'll do the river first. The river's the 5 of clubs, so there's 4 clubs on there. I check. Sorry, the big blind checks. I jam. Just basically, to be totally honest, I wasn't thinking of the actual strategy of the hand. My thinking was just, it's a scare card, and nobody really played it like they had the ace of clubs or anything. Tedious fucking, who's the guy I was thinking of earlier, fucking snap calls 26 bigs. The other guy folds, and he has king jack with the jack of clubs, so he had the 4th nuts. And with 26 bigs, everything on the line, didn't even think about it, which makes... So I understand the thinking.
Which means it's not a bad shove, because you're going to show up with the goods there a decent amount of the time.
I am going to have the goods a decent amount of time, but then I pose the question to you, how often am I going to have the ace of clubs and check that turn?
I think all your ace high flushes that turn a flush are going to check the turn.
is the naked ace of clubs going to check the turn there in a multi-way pot when I'm like a
Probably
chip leader?
sometimes.
Right. No, I agree that I it's not
If you're worried about getting check raised, you can. I mean, yeah, obviously you're going to barrel it more than you're going to check it, but you're also going to make the nuts on the turn a decent amount too.
yeah. I guess
Now it's whether or not you bet. I don't know how often you're betting your ace high flushes on the turn.
so I guess part of the problem here, yeah, is like I said, in the moment, I didn't really think too much about the strategy or like what I'm representing. My thinking was pretty much just like, oh, this is a scare card,
Sure.
and I'm just going to represent it.
Yeah,
so
this is obviously the kind of hand you were. This is probably like the top of the line of where you were hoping to get fold.
right. I doubt the king of clubs is fold. Obviously, don't need to say that the ace of clubs isn't folding, but
What
I did anyway.
of the clubs?
But I do expect for 26 bigs with everything on the line, I do expect the jack of clubs to fold. I do expect that there are players who will fold it there. This guy didn't even think about it. So I lose the chip lead, but I'm still second in chips. So this hands like this are like an exact reason why, like, you know, the 4-5 hand earlier, like why you building a big stack is like so important. Like being able to make a play like this and then still be in the tournament. Like imagine if I made this bluff, but everybody was close in chips. Now I'm just out. Mm-hmm. So being able to make a quote unquote mistake or take a risk like this and still be able to play is why you gamble on that hand, like the 4-5 against queens. You know, like this is why. Yeah, come right back and make top pair and win. So nice to get a win after a hand like that for the old mental.
Jeez, what a flop.
Get a walk with Jack 10, but would have flopped the fucking monster.
Adios pocket fours.
Oh yeah, I made a flush. I was like, the win was blocking. I was like, how did I win that? So, yeah, raise with ace queen and suited, and they jam with pocket fours and river a flush. So, hooray! Back to having the pretty close to the chip lead again. Another short stack suck out. He shoves a 900k for 120k, so not a ton. It's 8 bigs or something. Bigs. Yeah. I have ace-6 suited and decide to call, and I flop a 6 and hold. So, running good. Kings, raise. Now we're starting to heat up a little bit. Tedious calls, big blind calls, and I bet the flop. Get a call, just keep barreling. Just don't want to, you know, not standard stuff. Just want to keep getting value from the big hands. We're approaching the end, buddy. 4-handed now.
3-handed.
Yeah, somebody got knocked out on that last one. Ace Jack, take it down.
Oh, that's a big pot.
So we're 3-handed. The small blind raises to 300k. I remember I made it 14.5 bigs. So a few different things to talk about here. He made it 3 bigs, I believe. Yeah, 420k. He made it, and I made it 14
no, he made it 2.5, or 2 and.
So this one I actually remember because.
Well, it says raise 2 300. It's
raised 300k, so he made it 420k.
Didn't we already figure this out earlier?
Yeah, it's for all in. So we can.
Whatever, it's not that big a deal.
It's not that big of a deal, but for the strategy, it actually matters a little bit because for what I was going to talk about. So I made it. Anyway, you'll just have to trust me because the reason I remember is because I remember this. I was going to make it 5x, and I made it just a little under. I made it 14.5 bigs when normally I might make it 15. Mm-hmm. So you all can do the math if you want, but you'll just have to trust me on this one. I think for the all-ins it doesn't, but maybe we'll see later in the heads up. But anyway, I made it almost 5x, which is a standard for like normal spots. I think once you get down to like ICM and like now that we're getting closer, like I think you probably wouldn't expect me to continue with that. But this is kind of the problem of like this line of thinking that I hear a lot of, like, oh, if you had a big hand, like, wouldn't you want to like get paid or whatever? Like, why would you want to like scare people out? The problem with that line of thinking, especially like when you're dealing with experienced players, like, I'm not going to toot my own horn and call myself a good player, but experienced players, is people are always thinking about like balance and stuff. It's like, well, if I'm going to do something with one class of hand, then I make sure that I have to balance it out and do it with another. So like if I am going to steal with a larger sizing, then I'm going to do it with big hands too. At the end of the day, he had pocket eights and shoved for 4 million, and I called.
Yeah, but so the other thing is, like, the size is perfect for their stack because it gives them about a 2.5x 4-bet jam over your raise size, which is still feels like fold equity for if they have bluffs.
It does incentivize them, to want to steal that amount. Like,
it's easy. You can set up a size where they can still, like, obviously if they re-raise, it's going to be an all-in. It feels like they have fold equity, and you took a hand that if you make it 900k and they see a flop and it's king 9-6, the hand's over. You have a vulnerable hand, and the hand that you got max value from isn't going to continue on after that. So this is like the perfect example of why to make it that large.
Yeah.
To get a hand like eights to go all the way when in any other size you're probably seeing a flop and they check fold.
Yeah, no, I thank you for highlighting all that. That was very well put. And so another thing that doesn't matter. This is like, we're getting to the point now where it's all kind of starting to come like full circle for me, and like the emotions are like getting involved a little bit. Like, I've had a few deep runs in like live World Series events, and the best I've ever played, I feel like, in my life, where like things like really started to come together to me. I've made a bunch of like, so the shootout is my favorite event at the World Series. Like, you win your table and then you go on to the next one. Mm-hmm. So one year I won my first table and I was just crushing at the second table. I was just absolutely crushing. Like, it was like the best I've ever played. Like, I felt like absolutely like untouchable. Like, just no mistakes. Just like, I made a queen high call and
every
was
bluff
good.
Works, every call
just
good.
Everything,
yeah.
every call, everything. And just, I felt like nobody had any, and these were like some experienced players. Martin Zamani sat next to me. Woo! Martin Zamani sat next to me, and there was a hand where like he had kings, and like I had the perfect bluff candidate. Like, I blocked the flush, and I only had 10 high, and just it didn't feel right. So I checked, and I didn't like go into his trap, and like just nobody had a read on me. And we're 3-handed, and I get jacks in against eights, and the guy hits an 8. And I just remember feeling like so crushed, and just like this, this was like my,
all the chipping away, it just gets decimated.
Just all that work just by that, and like, and then like now here we are, all these years later, and fucking it's jacks against eights 3-handed again. Like, what are the odds? And like this time it holds. It just like, fuck, man, just poker's just such a long game, and just I don't know, man, just seeing this exact hand in this exact spot just fucking gets me a little choked up, but. With all that, ready to get into heads up?
Let's do it.
The home stretch here. So we're up against Tedious, who's the guy who called with the jack high flush. So something to keep in mind. We have a monster chip lead. We have 13 million. He's got 5.6 million.
Overbet jam, everything of value.
Yeah. So we're on the first hand of heads up. So an interesting little thing. Okay. So there was a Doug Polk video where they were talking about the hands that they played against the heads up machine the second time. And so one of the most like interesting things that I've just like ever heard, you could say in poker, just whatever. So he said when it started out, the machine that crushed the humans heads up, it started off doing all of these like different, the AI technology. It started off like it would limp some buttons. It would do all these different raise sizes. Like sometimes it would min raise, sometimes it would 3x. And then like a ways into the match, like I forget how many, like thousands of hands into the match, he says it suddenly just stopped. Just on a dime, just stopped and just started making it 2.5x every single time.
So it figured out in game what to do or what?
Like, if I smoked weed right now, like this, like it's the total kind of thing to just like take a huge puff and sit back and like think about the implications of this. Like, it's a really weird thing. Like, essentially what our machine overlords determined after experimenting, with all the
2.5x.
different stuff, is that just doing 2.5x every time was the best way to go about it. And so basically ever since I heard that, I've essentially haven't thought too much more into it than that. Been like, good enough for me, and now I just open the 2.5x on the button every time.
Which is so
like,
funny because I remember us talking about heads up a while back, and you're like, "What's so hard about heads up? Just open a 3x, and when you 4-bet, make it 4x or 3x." And it was just like, seems like a pretty blanket statement for how to play heads up. Big. Well, anyways, Scott.
you sure that was something I said? You sure that wasn't
You
just
told
like a
me
dream you had?
No, it was you saying, "Yeah, just open a 3x on the button." And if
Was
you're
this in like 2003 or something?
This is like
that?
less than like 3. This is like since the pandemic started, and you're like, yeah. And then if you want a 3-bet, just make it 4x whatever they're open. They opened, and that was your crash course in heads up play. But anyways, go ahead.
I don't know. Feels like a weird thing for me to say, but anyway. Point
Do
being,
you think I just made this up?
kind of, or you're misremembering.
No, I'm not.
Whatever.
Because it was funny because normally you're more intellectual than creating a general umbrella to use on something.
Clint's dumb, Aaron's sick. That's the lesson here. So if
You
you've
have a
learned
cold?
nothing from this video,
You have a cold?
they heard you the first time. The mic's really good. You don't have to fucking repeat
Oh, really?
it.
Because you're screaming like it's down the hall.
Anyway, next
Jesus.
Sorry.
It's quiet for you, sadly.
So we
And
run
all
the
that
small
for me to
blind.
tell you that I limped in.
So all that to tell you that I lived in. But you see how it's 120,000. It says call 60,000.
Yeah, because you have
see
60,000 in there.
see.
This does not make your point.
People are telling us to move on. I can hear them screaming, so we'll move on.
So you think that's a 4x raise is what you're saying?
So he made it. It's raised 180,000.
Exactly. You called
and
120. You had... Look at...
So he min raised.
Yeah, but you said that would have been...
So that's
added
180 more than what he had in there. He has 60,000 in there. It's 180
on...
more.
No, see, it's not. It's the same as all in.
Oh, Clint's getting embarrassed. All right. So I just defend 3 deuce of hearts. Probably could have considered re-raising it. Check, give up. So this hand right here is the first like real hand of consequence of heads up. It kind of sets the tone for the match. I make it my 2.5x. I make it 240.
It would be 300,000.
Thank you. He calls and then leads. It comes 8-3-5. He just leads half pot. I have top pair. Honestly, really could consider raising here. But I didn't. I wanted to keep his bluffs in. It is a vulnerable hand.
Yeah, you just found the one hand that has like no equity against you.
The turn's a deuce. He leads a third pot this time. I call. The river's a jack, and he leads small again. I call, and he has king 10. So this like kind of set the tone for like the type of player, the type of strategies he's going to use. Spoiler alert, it's not the first time he leads. Or not the last time he leads.
This is when Boski would go, "What's he repping?"
So then he leads, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, what's he repping? You know?
It's so funny to watch it go from half pot to third pot to quarter pot. It's just the fucking pussification of bluffing.
I don't want to check and give up, but I
So
don't want to go all in
backwards. It's
either.
like-
But yeah, I was planning on calling the whole way,
Oh,
even
I know,
if he jams
but it's
over.
just so funny when you could look at the sizes just fucking
it's
decrease, just like his confidence is probably
True.
withered away. Or her. More she's tedious.
There's women don't play poker. Get out of here. No, I wish more women played.
Good save, dude. That was really good. Thanks for setting the tone. Heads up. Would you go to the next hand, please?
My whole audience is women, dude. It's only women that listen to this, so they know I'm joking. He calls and we check. Flop middle pair. Decide to check. So heads up, there's a lot more of like balance and being tricky and stuff. I just check the middle pair.
Somebody felt
He
the
checks
need
behind.
to justify.
I'm in bed. He folds. Not gonna go over the ones that aren't interesting. So I had my shot here. He raises. I call with queen 9. Flop top pair. I have queen 9. It comes 9, 8, 7. So we have top pair, decent kicker. I check. He bets third pot, and I just fucking rip it. Decide to go for it. It's such a obviously this is the definition of a wet board, so I just want to deny equity. He calls with king 10, so he has 2 overs and a gutter. We got 54% to win the tournament and take it down. But he turns this. What did I say? Gutter?
Yeah.
Oh, my bad. Open ender and 2 overs, and he just hits the card right away. So now we're pretty close in chips. I have 11 million. He has 7 million. So gotta dust it off and keep fighting. Another thing. Okay, no, I'll save that for later. Come right back with a nice win. So see the 10-9 board, and I bet big. See?
Wow, one instance.
It's fucking. I told you.
Thing you always do. You've shown me proof of once.
That's all you need. So he raises. I re-raise with ace jack off. It comes queen jack 10. I decide to bet a third. I'm not sure how much I love that, and he jams. I just didn't want to let him back in it. Didn't want to give him the chip lead with just a jack there. Even if best case scenario he has like king 8, I'm fucking flipping, and maybe even like a small dog. So just decided to let it go.
You think you're a dog to king 8?
It's close.
Close.
I'm like 50-something%.
7 outs twice is close.
It's close. It's close-ish.
Close to being
It's
close
close-ish.
to being close to being close.
It's close.
It's
close adjacent.
Yeah, you're 3-1 favorite, and you think it's close.
This one I raise. Just gonna conveniently move on. He checks, I bet, and take it down. It's these paired boards you want to attack small. Got lucky here. He raises. I just call. So this is again a concept I was talking about earlier. I think ace 4 off. While it is going to be ahead and you can 3-bet it, I think sometimes I like it to have it be a strong call as opposed to a weak raise. Comes king 6 deuce rainbow. Check flop. The turn's a king and I lead out. I just don't think he's going to have a ton of kings in a check back. Like, obviously, players can be balanced and stuff, but I just decided to go for it. He calls. River's a 4, and it goes check, and he had ace 9, so I binked the 3 outer. Obviously, huge for momentum and stuff like that. I raise. He calls. I raise with 10-8 off. It comes 2-4-5, and he leads out. So this is like a spot where I think it's actually good to do it, and this is like a good example of why I just have to fold here. So clearly he's experimenting with leading strategies and did find a good time to do it. This one was interesting. He raises. I just call with the 5 deuce of hearts. Ace 10-9 with 2 hearts. Wasn't planning on check raising, not the kind of board I think that I want to, but he checks behind, and you know me, I've talked to you about this before. I love this line when they check behind, overbetting the turn, so I make it like pot and a half, and put a lot of pressure on hands that aren't like an ace, and he folds. And I would have binked the river if we rabbit hunt there, but
and you set this up with your ace 4 call.
Yeah, exactly, balanced. I do have a thank you.
This
we finally earned your stripes. This is why you're here. This is why you're
I'm
here.
Wearing a Yankees uniform, pinstripes everywhere.
Dude, we're about to get to hand 400, and now you want to come in with the good jokes?
I'm excited.
Now you're coming in with the good stuff, dude. Where's all the good shit? Fucking 300 hands ago. My goodness. All right.
It's time to go.
See? I did bet with that good hands.
That's exactly how you sounded too.
I raise, he re-raises, not going to do the queen 5 off. I re-raise with ace queen, he folds. 6s, so I raise, he calls, it comes jack 9-8. He leads out. I do have the heart, but this isn't the greatest one to float, but I just,
There's like no turn aside from 2 6s that you can continue.
My 6s being clean did factor in. If I didn't have the 6 of hearts, I would not have called. Even so, this is probably just a fold, but Just wanted to give it once.
You wanted to get the hit lightning in a bottle and stack him.
And if he like gives up, it's a decent one to like try and take it away. But he did lead again on the turn, so which was a queen. So all the 10s make a straight. So let it go. So this one I actually am curious about your thoughts on, because I remember in the moment, and now I'm not sure, but in the moment I really thought I misplayed this. So he raises, I just defend with 9-5 off. Could be it's the very, very tippy, bitty bottom of what I would ever defend here. Either way, comes Jack, 4 deuce, rainbow. He checks, or I check, he bets, third pot. I raise, just garbage hand, not trying to like float. So it's a low board, and I think there's a bunch of hands that I can get to fold. He calls, and I'm done with it until the turn is a 5. So I'm interested here. I, in the moment, thought checking here was a mistake. I thought that I should bet small again afterwards once I hit this. What do you think about once I take this line and once I hit the 5? What do you think here?
So if your whole strategy for the hand was to check raise the flop, and if you didn't take it down, you're going to give up.
Yeah.
Then I think that's a bad plan, because there's so many Broadway backdoor 10-9 suiteds, king 10 suiteds that are going to be calls on the flop and folds on the turn, that if you think you're going to take it down on the flop, I think you're mistaken.
Yeah, I guess I just really didn't expect like king 10 to float here
maybe not this king 10, maybe you're right, but king 10 of diamonds, 10-9 of diamonds, queen 9 of spades, like those are all supposed to take turn cards here with 1 over at least, and if you have 2 overs, then for sure. And for you to give up on the turn, I think is a mistake. I think you're supposed to not bet small on this, but bet big on this turn, because you're going to have all the straight draws and gutters. They could have a wheel every once in a while, but you're supposed to have the 6-3s, the 6-5s, and I think those all want to bet big on the turn.
So my thinking in the moment was the typical, like, oh, well, now I have showdown value. Now I don't need to inflate the pot.
But that's an even better reason to keep betting, I think.
No, yeah, I agree.
Because you can get value from any 4, any 2, any, you know what I mean? Yeah, you lose.
And then by checking, I let him, like, bet his jacks, but then also bluff, put myself in a tougher spot.
Yeah, it's not a slam. You're not feeling great if they bet after you check on this, but at least, I don't know.
I think the lesson here is fold pre-flop.
Probably. That was I think maybe 9-5 is a defend.
Wow, it's kind of funny. Haxton has 9-5 off on the fucking TV right now. How sick is that? And he's heads up. Anyway, I think it probably better as a 3-bet. Clint's in the bathroom now, but I'll just go ahead and finish the hand. The river's a king, and I bet, looks like a third pot, and he calls with king 10. So he takes the chip lead. So after having that big chip lead, now we are officially down in chips, heads up. So things are not going well, but I tell myself that I just got to keep fighting. There's plenty of time to get mad after the tournament. I'm not sure. Maybe might be a little bit of tilt in this one. I raise the button with queen 9 off standard. He calls flop middle pair, goes check, comes king 9-8, and it goes check. The turn's a 10, so now I have a little more equity and, blocker and a gutter. He just bets right out, 3/4 pot. I call, I think that's standard. The river's an offsuit 3, and he bets, looks like half pot. I'm not sure if calling here is standard. I kind of, it's an okay candidate to call. Like, I think, like, I unblock the spades, I block a straight, but like hands, like, I don't know if Jack 10 is betting like this.
Yeah, I think I'd be more worried about getting milked by a 10 than I would about losing to a king. If he's value betting 10s, it's probably bad.
Yeah, he does have
bad, but a fold.
He does have the king deuce off. I think I might have. This was definitely a player dependent thing. This was definitely a thing where I was like, this guy just seems kind of loopty doopty, and just decided to pay it off. And I wouldn't object to hearing that this is probably that this could be a fold on the river, but
Or bluff.
yeah. So we're at the point now. I don't know if I've
Unblocking
mentioned
both
this.
flush draws.
Yeah,
And blocking the nuts.
It does make an interesting.
And two pairs.
Yeah, it does make an interesting bluff candidate. Part of that,
Is it,
and so this is the guy that snap called with the jack of clubs.
I was gonna say, if you think that you're just
I think in order to bluff here, you have to at least have a chance that somebody might fold a king here, and this guy doesn't, I think, fit that type. But in the moment, I will say I didn't even really consider raising, so it is interesting to look at that. It is definitely something to consider, but I think looking at this, I think I'm glad I did.
It's not like you had queen 7, you know what I mean?
Right.
Where
the pair does
blocks
have
two
heads
pairs.
up. Yeah, absolutely does have some value. So I'm glad I didn't go for that. But yeah, we're at the point now where
for sure. Yeah.
second place sucks. So
Well, second place always sucks. You're at the point now.
dude, if I get second place in the main event, I'll be happy. Get a walk with four deuce off, or four deuce of diamonds. That feels good. Would have flopped 2 pair.
Dirt read.
Raise 10-6, and he lead. So I raise 10-6 off. Flop comes king, queen, 7, rainbow, and he just leads right into me. It's just I didn't like folding. I was just like, I wanted to turn on the fancy plays, but
you are getting to the point where every bet called is kind of crucial.
We're not deep anymore. Like
no.
Not the spot. I was.
Bigs.
This one was a little frustrating in that I wanted to do something about it, but I just couldn't. So, queen high. Yeah, he raises. I call it queen high. I thought had a little bit of showdown value, and he had a little better queen high. He did not lead. I raised with queen 8 on the button. He calls, came ace king 9. He checks. I bet and take it down. He did not lead into me. That would have been super frustrating, but that's something we've learned people do. Looks like I paid him off again. He calls. I check pre-flop. Flop middle pair. I have 9-6 off. It comes queen 6-4. I check. He checks. Turns a jack. I lead. Just wanted to deny equity. I don't know if it's the best card to lead on. Yeah. He calls. The river's a 5. I check. He bets a third pot, and I pay it off with a pair. Just there's enough out there, and he had jack 10. This one fell good. I raise. He calls. I have 6-4 of clubs. Came queen 5-4 with 1 club. He leads into me for a third pot. Bottom pair. I got in a backdoor straight draw and a flush draw. I got a call. Turns a deuce. So have a gutter. I block the nuts. He checks. I bet half pot, and he lets it go. So that was a nice one. We're getting to the end here.
Gotta be a double up soon.
Getting to the end here.
Right about now. Right about now.
Okay, so I got to talk about this hand. So
well, that's why we're here. You've been doing that with every hand. You mean you have to? Like we haven't talked about them before? Just go. Just talk.
I'm sorry about my friend, everybody. I'll take care of it later. No, I'm just kidding. Love you, buddy. Thank you. So he raises, and I have about 26 bigs, and I have ace deuce off in the big blind. So what hasn't been mentioned here yet is the journey I'm on and all this stuff. For the last couple years, I've been doing intermittent fasting with moderate levels of success and failure. This year, I committed, no matter what, to sticking with it. And when I say no matter what, I mean no matter what. And part of that, this year-long process includes I wasn't going to call out of work. I
I've almost been fired for attendance multiple times from a job that I like love and respect and is like, you know, pretty much the best thing I could like, a really good situation for me. And we're getting to the point in the night where I work at midnight, and we're getting close to the point where I had to get in the shower and go. I had already like texted my boss that this thing ends around midnight, and so like if necessary, if it doesn't end, like I might need like the first break or whatever. But we're a few minutes away to the point where I like normally get in the shower, and my roommate, who was like talking to, you know, watching, you know, throughout this whole process, was saying like, dude, you know, if there's ever a time, you know, like this is it, like you should call out, like the main event's on the line, you know. And I was just like no, like I refuse. Like I said, I'm gonna stick with this no matter what. And I wasn't gonna call out even for the main event. I just was gonna the thing that sucks about where I work, like the reception is so shitty, like the Wi-Fi, like my Gigi hasn't been working on the Wi-Fi, so I would have had to go there, probably time out a bit, heads up, which sucks, find a spot that has like decent connection, like, and you know, like not a good look for my job. So whereas normally, like with the ace-4 hand before, like I think this makes like a good strong call. Normally with 26 bigs, I think I either call or maybe like re-raise here and try and take it down. But we're getting to the point now where I have to basically just go for it. And shoving is still a profitable play. So I just decided, you know what, I'm going to shove, just expecting to take it down most of the time. So I shove 26 bigs with ace deuce off, and I get snap called. And my heart just fucking sinks, you know? Like, if you get snap called for that price, the last hand in the fucking world you want to have is ace deuce off.
They are supposed to call there too, though.
Like, no, but I mean, like,
yeah, because you're repping like ace low and crappy aces in small pairs. So, but yeah, no, I'm saying
or even suited connectors at 26 bigs, like queen jack can shove. Like it's queen jack, it's playable. Like, but the whole point is like once I call there, like my heart sank. Like
sure.
I'm mostly expecting gonna be against like aces that have me beat and pairs that have me like they all have me dominated. And then best case scenarios would end up happening king, queen, and I'm 54.65%. And as you can see, so like he flops 3 to a royal, I turn an ace, and I hold. So I talked in a video recently about like I recently got under 300 pounds and like seeing like the deuce, and I said the only person who's more excited to see a deuce was Blumstein, and then the deuce comes on the river. Just a lot of like, you know, shit that doesn't actually matter but is like symbolic. But just like this hand just is kind of like, if I hadn't sticking to my guns, like if I hadn't like refused to just like stick with this process and not compromise it for anything even as like important to the main event, which like I've never played, like I would have never shoved this hand. And like me shoving here and getting this like double up and getting back into it, I don't know, it's hard not to like ponder that area of life where it's just like the universe like rewarding me, you know, for like sticking with my, I don't know, just like it's like a
$6,000 hand. When you think about equity.
Yeah, right. No, this is like the biggest spot, and just to have it play out like this and have it just because like I needed to make a move, otherwise I was going to be in a disadvantageous spot. So just an absolute incredible hand, an incredible hold.
Such a hold.
Just the biggest hold of my life. So we have the chip lead again. We take it down with Jack 10. So we have 2 hands left. So this hand, he raises pretty big. So 200,000 big blinds, and he 4Xs, and I have queen 3 suited. And we're deep enough here, as you can see. Like, I'm sensing like,
this is the end is near.
Like, yeah, it's like step on the throat moment. Like if I hit a decent hand, like I feel like I can like get stacks in. I hit bottom pair with a backdoor flush draw. I check, he bets half pot. So this is like the queen and the 3 are just pure. They're just like clean, and like I feel like if I hit them,
and a backdoor flush draw,
yeah. And I just feel like I can end this tournament if I hit. I call. I'm still with bottom pair. I'm still going to be ahead a lot, so I'm not like. I hit the perfect turn, offsuit queen. I check. Unfortunately, he checks behind, and I go for it on the river. The river's an offsuit deuce. I fucking overbet jam. 2x pot,
just wanting to end it. Like, I don't, I want to end this fucking thing for multiple reasons, just to win, and also, like I said, I got to go to work. And it's just a spot where, 9-8 misses. There are misses, so I wanted to get the call. And then, remember the foreshadowing when I said 10-7-6 was going to come up later?
Yeah.
So I raised the button, my standard 2.5x with ace-10 of spades. He calls. The flop is 10-7-6. We come full circle. He checks, and I bet full pot. Like, this is a super wet board. Want to get it in now. Want to do my shit on the flop. And as you can see, the turn is the 9 of spades. So, like, that is an action killer. So that's exactly why. He raises, commits himself. And I remember saying to Greg, dude, I think this is it. I put him in for his last million. He has king 7 off for second pair. We turn the flush draw and fucking hold him. We hold him like we're in fucking Texas and take that shit down. And that's that. We're going to fucking Vegas. I think Clint's planning on coming with me, at least for part of it.
Clint's coming.
And this was this was the road to making my dreams come true, playing the main event for the first time ever. That was a hell of a journey. I'm happy that I stuck it out and I didn't have to compromise my morals. This is already several hours long, but you have any closing thoughts?
No, I just think it's very well deserved, and I'm so stoked you get to play this tournament, and I think it's a culmination of all your hard work. I think you should be proud of yourself.
You're the man. I appreciate that. So I'll close on this. The first call I made was to my dad. Second call was to my mom. She didn't answer. She was asleep. It was late for her. Before I put it on Facebook.
Oh, wow.
The next one, I think I called this guy right here. Called Clint. He was at work, so I sent him a text with a screenshot of the win, and yeah, it was just a beautiful moment to share. I'm happy I get to share all this with you guys. If any of you actually made it through and listened to this entire thing, you're a fucking animal. I feel like that's going to be very few people, but even so, this was incredibly fun to make. I feel like this was better than me just doing it by myself, and
that's arguable.
I think it was. I am of the opinion that it was. And we're gonna sign off. I get to do a fucking 2-hour drive home now. Sorry, I didn't want to get you doxxed or anything, but yeah.
Damn it! Now they're gonna be able to pinpoint.
So all right, fucking A Dog and C Shoe signing off. Peace out.